Why did 2 million people pay more to get away?
Oh yeah, I'm live already.
Because they didn't want to be vetted. They didn't want to.
Civil rights groups say last week's deportations included 3 American children, all U.S. citizens.
Oh,
One
yeah,
of them is battling cancer.
For sure.
Let's go to CNN's Priscilla
Got a big old piece of
Alvarez.
slob on your face.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Here, I'll grab that.
and I don't like dogs, but you're really good.
She's a big slobberer for sure.
Yeah.
First thing FD asked is is your dog friendly to black people? How many black people has your dog been around?
Yeah, that's first. Yeah, because I listen.
No. I tell people all the time that get like dogs. I tell them to white people to train their dogs to as a puppy to be around like black and brown people in general.
Yeah.
It's not even a joke. Like
it's a real thing.
Yeah.
I now live around way more white people than I have my entire life. And I do not hate white people, but I realize I do hate their dogs. And like if it was my dictatorship that we were setting up in America right now, I would make every white person with a dog register on a list and go through state mandated training before they're able to. She's like, no, keep going.
Yeah,
keep going.
No, she's been around. She's been around plenty of black people.
Yeah, because the types of things I have seen with white people and their dogs in the last year has blown my mind. I did not know it was that bad. So, all right, Kai, I got to let you go though. I got to pay attention to this.
Okay.
To the speed of this chat.
Yeah.
Whatever else is going on. I heard we talking news today.
Yeah.
There's a blackout in Europe or something?
Yeah, there's currently a blackout happening in Spain and Portugal. They're saying it's like
the whole country?
Like there's I think they've like recovered a little bit, but I'm not entirely certain as to where like how it happened, but I think it's because of let's see.
How do we blame this on immigration?
Yeah, massive power outages hit Spain, Portugal, and France, slowing travel and affecting commuting travel. Airports have been disabled. Shops and offices are in the dark. It's unclear how many people have been affected. Parts of France were also briefly hit. The Spanish government is holding an emergency meeting in Madrid. Lights coming back on in central Lisbon. Coco Gauff shares her blackout experience in a dark locker room after the Madrid Open match. Spain declared a state of emergency. What was it? What was the reason?
Yeah, like what happened? It says like, I know, countries in Europe are
was it a
smaller
hack
states
or whatever? But
like to take out the entirety of a grid is not just a simple malfunction.
At first I thought it was because of like a space storm or something. Like sometimes stuff like that happens where it works like a
solar
EMP
flare or some shit.
Yeah. That's what I thought it was, but I don't know. Neoliberals tried privatizing the energy sector and it fucked it up. I mean, I don't know.
Aren't we all running on neoliberal power though? That's like at least the standard is the neoliberals can run a power grid enough to not have an entire country.
Texas.
Unless it's Texas, but that's not the they don't have that good old neoliberal, effective bureaucracy. They just are running on diet fascism.
Kaya, place.
Oh, that is not how shit happens in front of my house in my neighborhood.
No, she's very well trained. She's awesome.
But I remember you were training like when I was here. I guess was that 2 years ago now? Maybe last summer.
So yeah, like when she was a little baby.
Last summer, yeah, that's wild shit. Yeah, I'm back in the giant Hasan mansion.
Yeah, yeah, you're back. You're back in the bunker.
This house is bigger since the last time I was here. The socialist mansion.
Yeah, it grew larger, and it's also more expensive now because every time my haters grow by numbers, the house value goes up. Now they say I have a $10 million
home.
Now I have a $10 million castle. Yeah,
of course. Yeah, I'm not gonna talk about. I did buy a home not long after I left you.
Oh no.
But I'm not. I will be off social media about my house, and also I put kids in this. People give me a pass. Just have kids. once you have kids,
No, they will not give me they'll be like, they'll say socialist, but had a child in a capitalist world and is like damaging the environment.
gosh, I will say,
Because I put my family in this house. Like my family comes and stays with me for months on end. You know what I mean? They don't give a shit about that.
right? Yeah.
It's like I take care of my family, and they still. There's like AI articles written about how my dad is a billionaire. They say that my dad is a billionaire, and that
he used to hang with Elon Musk's dad.
yeah, he's one of the richest people in Turkey. They say.
Yeah, wild business. Yeah,
Yeah.
the hate for you. Like I knew there was hate for you when I was here last time. I've known that for a while.
Yeah.
It definitely has increased, and it's gotten. How are you doing?
I'm doing all right.
It's
I'm doing great.
You're having a moment. You're having a moment.
Yeah. It doesn't really go anywhere. It's because especially because it's always the same shit.
Yeah.
And it's always like incredibly frivolous.
Yeah. My thing is always when I care enough, it's to ask for details.
Yeah.
And that's what I've been telling, because now that I'm getting just the fact that I'm positively associated with you, but also once you hit as much notoriety as I've finally gotten to now, you just kind of become an economy of your own, like to have your own haters, to have your own anti-fans.
Yeah, of
And
course.
so what I've been telling people is just listen, when they say something really bad about me, just ask for details. Just tell them to explain. 7 times out of 10, they can't. And those 3 out of 10 times, it's the pettiest, most online brain thing possible.
Yeah.
And it doesn't really go anywhere.
Wait, let me fix this as well. And then we can do this. Here we go.
I clearly need a better camera. This is like...
But these cameras are annoying though. They're Lumix. I wouldn't recommend them. I recommend like the Sony FX. I think it's like FX7 if you're gonna use it. These are studio cameras. They need like it's just
They need all the things.
they need
I
a
see
lot.
this is a much more serious. Even the stand is way more like my shit. I got an a Brio like webcam that's just dangling on top of one of my monitors. I don't even have that shit mounted properly. Yeah, but I am streaming chat. I am now a Twitch. I'm officially a Twitch not affiliate.
Partner?
Partner.
Or is it above affiliate?
I don't know. Whichever one.
Do you have a check?
No, I don't have a check. So I'm
So you're affiliate.
okay. I'm affiliate. Well, I'm getting paid.
Yeah.
I've made $200 off Twitch in the last.
Yeah, you can
month.
get paid as an affiliate. Yeah.
So check me out. I'll save all my shout outs for later in the chat.
Yeah.
But
And have you watched Sinners yet?
oh yeah, of course.
Then we gotta talk about that as well.
Yeah. I'm Sinners.
So good.
Sinners was amazing. I'm in the middle of fighting people about Shador Sanders. I don't know if I want to. I don't know if that's ready for your chat. I don't know.
No, we could talk about that too for sure. We can talk about Bill Belichick too if you want to.
That's a perfect segue, because Bill Belichick. The people call me anti-white. No one's more anti-white than Bill Belichick.
Really?
Yes, and people would think it's the opposite.
Yeah, because of Tom Brady.
Because of Tom Brady and Bill Belichick. I researched this recently because he had his own rant section in this Shador Sanders video that should come out tomorrow, and I cut it because I was like, I'm getting off topic. This is a whole other video now. He's had more white receivers than like the entire league combined. As like his one tenure of coach. Now it was 20 years, but like no team has had that. He had, I think it was 9 different wide receivers in a 15, 20 year coaching career at New England.
So he's doing DEI, you're saying?
It's even worse than like it is how they describe DEI, but it's worse in that he's doing it on purpose specifically so he can control and underpay his employees. That's the really insidious part. Yeah, you didn't think about that shit, did you? Like Belichick, because the reason why I brought him up during the Shador shit is that the NFL has never really like embraced the fact that it has these rich black millionaires that come into their league wearing all the jewelry, being flashy. The way ironically Deion Sanders like showed the league you build a black star. So they've never really been a fan of that, but they've tolerated it because like these are stars, they're popular, whatever. But Bill was like, no, never that. So if you go and you look at Bill Belichick's like NFL record as a coach, it's not his winning record, but the type of players that have played for him, he's never had a superstar outside of Tom Brady. He's only had contributors. And then the type when he does get a high level player, it's usually after that player has gotten in trouble somewhere else. So when you look at some of the players, the best players that Bill Belichick has ever had, Antonio Brown for a week, Chad Johnson, Chad Ochocinco for like a year or two, Terrell Owens for like a year, Albert Hainsworth, Corey Dillon, Dante Stallworth, like the list goes on that he hardly ever would pay you. If you had an attitude coming into the league, Bill didn't have nothing to do with you. You take that attitude somewhere else.
They're saying Randy Moss.
Randy Moss, thank you. That's another one. I knew I was forgetting one. Randy Moss is another one. So just like Randy Moss, right, comes in the league, is great, but keeps getting in trouble, keeps having run-ins with the law or wherever. I think Randy Moss only had one run in the law, but he's very much a pariah. And then after being a pariah for multiple years, he goes to New England. He keeps his mouth shut because he knows if he doesn't do his thing at New England, keep his mouth shut, he's probably out the league. Resurrects his career, I think Randy actually never got a Super Bowl, ironically, with Tom Brady. He's the best receiver to ever play with Brady. I don't think he ever got a Super Bowl. Hernandez, right? Hernandez is another one. Hernandez is the only person that he took on with alleged character issues, or maybe he didn't know Hernandez was a secret murderer.
Well, I mean, not to that degree, probably.
You're probably not to that degree.
I don't think anybody knew that it was like that.
But the flip side, right, is so we have all these black guys with character issues that are elite talents. They can't be on the team outright. They have to come after they've been through the ringer. Mm-hmm. But he loves going and grabbing Gunnar Zolewski off of in the 7th round of a draft and seeing if he can turn little Gunnar Zolewski into his next Julian Edelman or Wes Welker or Chris Hogan, or I think I had a list, but I erased that shit. But it's like somebody in the chat, go ahead and go ahead to Pro Football Reference and get that Amendola. I think Eric Decker played for him for a second. There's a ton of different white receivers, and they're all the same guy. Except for maybe Eric Decker, they're all 5'9", undersized, marginally athletic, but really hungry, scrappy white guys. He plays smart. He plays the game right way. Sneaky athletic. All that shit.
Lunch pail.
Brings his lunch pail every day. None of them ever got paid by him. They never got. He would have them there because he could control them. They wouldn't say shit. And he could give them middling contracts like he did everybody. He didn't even pay Tom Brady. I don't know what they were doing with their fucking salary cap that whole time. Yeah, so Bill Belichick hates white people. That is the take here you find on the Hasanabi.
Okay, this is good to know. I mean, yeah, underpaying Tom Brady is a perfect demonstration of hating white people and not giving white people the appropriate.
What they deserve. DEI ruined Tom Brady's his marriage.
Yeah.
DEI ruined Tom Brady's marriage.
All right. So we're not going to be talking about sports any longer, chat. So stop freaking out.
Your chat is like my viewers. It's like
they're like, dude, stop talking about sports. Get back to the fucking Trump administration. What we were covering earlier today was the Trump administration deporting U.S. citizen children 2, 4, and 7 years old alongside their parents. These are not like the violent criminal gang members that the Trump administration claimed that they were deporting on this like mass deportation scheme. And instead, lo and behold, they're deporting random people. Many of them, majority of them, overwhelming majority of them don't have any criminal background whatsoever. Shocking. And the Trump administration is actively working to deport these people. And now, alongside their parents, they're deporting their children that are American citizens as well. Mm-hmm. These people are also married to U.S. citizens, too, on top of that. That's what's going on. Judge says 2-year-old U.S. citizen appears to have been deported with no meaningful process. The girl was deported Friday with her mother to Honduras, despite her father's efforts to keep her in the United States.
That's wild.
So it is shockingly cruel and completely unjustifiable. It's cruelty for the sake of cruelty. and here we are, you know.
She's joining us from the White House right now. Priscilla, you were at that briefing. What did Tom Homan say this morning?
Well, Wolf, the White House is certainly highlighting the progress
Can I just point out
that
Priscilla
they
is
have.
serving cunt though? Like she go back like 3 seconds and look at this serve she's giving the camera. What? Oh.
I think you're wrong. I think Wolf is serving cunt as
Is
well.
Wolf
Woman
serving
say
more
this one.
cunt? No, that's
Wolf is always serving cunt. I have to recognize that. Apparently,
Okay, Wolf.
apparently he knows who I am. So that's
Okay,
what
well, we
that's
shout out to Wolf.
shout out Wolf man.
Wolf, the White House is certainly highlighting the progress that they have made and say they have made along the U.S.-Mexico border, where the numbers have plummeted over recent months. But of course, as you just mentioned, all of this is happening against the backdrop of what we are learning about 3 U.S. citizen children who were sent back to Honduras with their mothers. Now, these are 2 separate cases. This is in both cases, according to court filings, these mothers had been going to routine ICE check-ins when they were detained and then later removed to Honduras. Now, when that occurred, when they were detained, they were given the option to be removed with their children, and they opted for that. But the attorneys in these cases say that there was very little time to make any decisions or have conversations with relatives. And so they are raising the alarm again about the lack of due process. Now, when I asked the White House border czar about this, he said again that this was the decision of the mothers. Take a listen.
This is a decision of the mother.
If you choose to have a U.S. citizen child, knowing you're in this country legally, you put yourself in that position. You put your family in that position. What we did is remove children with their mothers who requested the children depart with them. This was a parental decision. Parenting 101. The mothers made that choice.
Is this
Now,
pause
if you
for a
recall,
second, because I have, you have your enemies, I have my enemies. My enemies, thankfully, are less unhinged. But so I've been on this balancing act trying to engage with black liberals around stop being black liberals.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, he worked for Obama, didn't he? The borders are that they just showed.
Tom Homan? Yeah. He did. Obama. He worked at ICE under Obama.
Pretty much the same exact role, or not.
Yeah.
Maybe not the head role,
Yeah.
but like in the same capacity.
Yes, but also so the thing is, Barack Obama did this thing where they restructured what they considered deportations to mean something different than what it previously did. So there's like 2 different types of, I guess, deportations, right? There's the catching someone in the process of like entering the border and then quickly sending them back, versus interior deportations, interior removal versus removal at point of entry.
Right.
The Obama administration changed what deportations used to mean to everyone being stopped and returned at point of entry, which is why his numbers grew dramatically. Part of the reason why he did this was to capitulate to right-wing framing on this, to make the claim that like, no, we're taking this very seriously. Right?
Obama loved the idea of
deport-
reaching across the aisle.
We're
That
doing
was-
expedited removal. We're doing we're catching people crossing the border and then subsequently removing them. And so the deportation numbers exploded. Another part of the problem, I guess, is that there are more people trying to enter the country under Democratic leadership because I think undocumented migrants perhaps naively think that Democrats
are
less
their friends.
Democrats are kinder and more humane than Republicans, not realizing that they're not. Right.
The kids were in cages at that time as well.
Yeah, exactly. So the major difference in Trump 1 versus Obama was that Trump decreased the limitations that ICE had for engaging in interior removal, because the understanding broadly for Americans was relatively sympathetic to migrants in general. We are surrounded by undocumented migrants, some of which we know are undocumented, some of which we don't know are undocumented. It's just a normal part of living in the United States of America. There's like more than 10 million. according to Trump's estimations, 20 million undocumented migrants. Is a big chunk of the U.S. population, and therefore the idea is that, like, if you've been living here and you obviously haven't done like an egregious crime, because you've been living here for a decade plus, like that it is whatever, like it is what
Figure
it
that
is.
shit out.
And that Americans actually, ironically, overwhelmingly choose mass amnesty for people like that over deportation when given the option. The problem is the Democrats have never actually shown that option or never communicated that option,
Right.
and they certainly haven't done so since they certainly didn't do so in the Joe Biden administration,
Right.
where they basically
it
took
became not the best political football. It
Yeah.
became very clear, like under Obama, because you would have been pretty young
Yeah.
at that time. But like I remember vividly, like immigration was not something I thought about until Obama. And now I was in my mid 20s, so I'm not as politically inclined then as I was now. But I'm pretty confident that like the way we think about immigration, the way that's a political football now, that starts under Obama, because that becomes a place to point to. Every couple of years, the right needs to kind of recycle their boogeymen.
Yeah. It was always around, like post Reagan, I would say. It was definitely like a point of contention that the Republicans could constantly hit the button on.
Right.
But it was a known one, and it grew in severity,
Intensity.
I think, under the Bush administration, and then certainly grew under the Obama administration, because it was like a great way to attack Barack Obama, to be like, oh, he is doing an apology tour globally, and he wants America to be run over by Mexicans.
Yeah.
It's just like pure white nativist nonsense.
Yeah.
Obama, on the other hand, was still pretty horrible when it came to immigration as well. But he did something that the Democrats used to do back in the day before Biden. And that is a back and forth. Like Obama used to do the I'll give you some concessions on immigration, but then I'll get something in return.
Mm-hmm.
That was the bargain. The idea that like Obama was going to be the deporter in chief, which was ridiculous and unjustifiable, of course. But then simultaneously he was going to do the Dreamer Act, right? For DACA, the Deferred Action on Childhood Arrivals. For those of you who don't know, DACA is a program that was implemented by executive order under the Obama administration to offer some protections with very, very severe restrictions and very severe qualifiers to children that had crossed the border alongside their parents and had grown up in the United States of America. They would get deferred action. As in they would get protection from deportation, basically, as long as they went to school, got a job, did not leave the country. Like there are so many restrictions on DACA immigrants. It's actually pretty crazy. So, yeah. Clinton built a wall, Bush created ICE, Obama expanded deportations, but did DACA. Trump is creating a Third Reich based on immigrant persecution. That's a pretty solid assessment of the situation. So, in any case, this is something that I was very critical of the Biden administration on, because I know that they were going to fucking use immigration as a talking point over and over and over again. And and Biden had actually come into office on a wave of pro-immigration activism, because people forget that the attitude towards, and the mistreatment of undocumented migrants under the Trump administration was so gross and so severe that you had Democrats talking about abolishing ICE.
Right.
Now, a lot of that was purely resistance, liberalism, and aesthetics, but
Yard flags.
But the overall public sentiment had shifted back in favor of undocumented migrants. But Biden very quickly, Biden basically didn't do anything about that. And then you have the famous Haitian migrants in Texas getting whipped by Customs and Border Patrol on horseback.
Yeah.
And in the aftermath of that, the Biden administration basically took a very reactionary stance towards migrants in general. And that only calcified this position. And on October 6th, ironically enough, right before October 7th, the Biden administration did something that I consider to be unconscionable, where they adopted the right-wing framing entirely, where the Biden camp came out with their own anti-immigration package, their bill that was written by an Oklahoma senator who was super reactionary, super far right.
And they still couldn't get that through Congress, though.
And
like,
they
just
still
said-
couldn't get that through Congress because the Trump administration, or not the Trump administration, the
just Trump at the
campaign,
time. It was like,
Trump
nope.
at the time said, don't do this, don't pass this. And that, however, was a major blow to Democrats in general, because that basically was an admission that the Democrats were lying about saying that the border wall is racist, or lying saying that like immigrants, this is a nation built by immigrants for the past, 40 fucking years.
All
the
that
Democrats
shit is completely
had said.
gone in like
all
a
that
3
shit's
years
gone.
span.
And they adopted the right-wing framing that immigrants actually constituted a national security threat. That was new, because Democrats had not previously agreed to this false notion that immigrants actually constitute a national security threat. But now that they were putting forward a national security focused bill to deal with immigrants and immigrant detention, all of a sudden they were admitting the Republican framing, normalizing this attitude amongst their constituents. The only impact that this had was they didn't win a single Republican vote on this, because they were like, oh, these guys are finally competent about immigration. The only impact it had was there were a whole bunch of liberals who get their notes from the Democratic Party who now also believed that immigrants were constituting a national security threat.
Yeah.
That's why Trump came into office with 66% approval on mass deportation.
That's so. Quick question on that, because hasn't that finally started to drop?
Yes.
I did a follow-up video a couple of weeks ago, about a month ago now, on like my initial Trump take. But that video was like 2 weeks after, I don't know, you haven't done, are you coming out with any 90-minute long video essays anytime soon?
No.
Okay, well.
No.
In the prestige land of the video essayists.
Yeah.
You write the essay, the editing can take 1 to 6 months.
Yeah.
So by the time, and so when I was writing, he had just had like the first, not the first, one of the earliest like popularity polls or whatever. And he was more popular than he's ever been as a president. And part of that was because at the time it was like 60% of people approved his immigration stuff. But it seems like that's finally dropped.
But to be fair to you as well, I had a conversation with Ested Herndon of the New York Times, who I love. I have him on all the time. He's one of my favorite New York Times reporters. And in our conversation, he did a follow-up initially to the original run-up thing that he had done, where he asked like his family members and a whole bunch of people that he'd met on the campaign trail, like what they now thought about Donald Trump. And a lot of people, and this was only like a month or two ago.
Right.
And that attitude has shifted dramatically even since then with the Kilmar Abrego Garcia story.
Right.
Basically, what he had told me at the time was a lot of Americans are still oblivious to the deportation stuff. They don't really consider it to be a major issue. They mostly were at that time focusing on Elon Musk and Doge and the unpopularity of mass layoffs coming from Doge. My argument always has been, both under the Biden administration, going all the way back to February 2021, when the CBP Haitian migrant whipping imagery came out, was that if the Democrats don't offer a counter narrative to the lies and the smears that these Republicans are consistently presenting, and right-wing sentiment dominates the media about migration, immigration specifically constituting a national security threat, then Americans are going to become more reactionary. They're going to care less about immigrants.
Yeah.
If the Democrats, once Trump was elected, I kept saying Democrats have to launch an opposition against this deportation agenda at some point, because you need to make Americans aware that this is happening. There's far too many things that the Trump administration is doing, but this is one of the most significant, most consequential
and
aspects.
It's also an easy one to display.
Yeah, and it's also, it's super easy to vilify the horrifying practice.
I've seen enough social media posts of watching like ununiformed ICE people walking up to like women and children and essentially threatening them in like the most coming out of courts. You know what I'm saying? going into
not even ICE
elementary
agents.
school.
We found out that ICE doesn't have the logistics to do mass deportation at this scale, which is why they've deputized like random right-wing militias and shit now too.
I did not know that one.
Is truly terrifying. So, and lo and behold, the reports started coming in. Shouts out to ProPublica and all of these other institutions that were investigating the background, the criminal background of all of these immigrants that were being deported to CCOT. And we found out stories of the likes of Andre, for example, from California, the Venezuelan from California, who's a gay hairdresser who had a tattoo of mom and dad on his arms. And he was deported to CCOT with no due process whatsoever, simply because he had these tattoos. And the DHS was saying these tattoos are enough to say that he is Tren de Aragua. Right, which Trump had declared a terror organization at this point. Like the gang designation had moved on to the terrorism designation. Same with MS-13.
Right,
and you know, on top of that, there was a ProPublica report that showed that 75% had no criminal background whatsoever, and up to 90% had like traffic tickets or
possession.
Just like really offenses. Silly nonviolent offenses that don't reach the standard of deportation. And then the administration fucked up and had one of their federal judges or one of their federal attorneys admit that Kilmar Abrego Garcia had a withholding of removal to El Salvador, but the administration had already deported them. So they recognized that they had made a mistake.
What is the status of that, by the way? Because I've checked, I'm traveling and checked out of that.
I'm not certain as to what is going to happen, but there is a court proceeding taking place right now in terms of
because I know there's an
order from a Maryland judge, and I think that that's going to possibly escalate once again because the Supreme Court gave a unanimous 9-0 decision saying that the Trump administration must facilitate the return of Kilmar Abrego Garcia. And yet they have not done so, and they're using facilitate, like the language around facilitate, to mean something it doesn't mean. They're saying it's not effectuate, it's facilitate, and therefore
we don't have to do anything,
right? So, and the Trump administration is like lying about it too. They're lying about the assessment. They're saying that it was a unanimous decision defending us when it clearly wasn't.
Peep Dark Soul real quick, 503 all the way at the top. It's going. Dark Soul says 2025. Come back down, right there.
Oh,
20. Oh, you ready?
Oh yeah, 2025. The Klan is still not designated as a terrorist organization. Yeah, of course not.
Right, and because I bring that up because as like. A couple of years ago, this might have happened under Trump. This might have happened under Biden. But do you remember the black extremist, the black identity extremist?
Oh yeah. I remember the FBI designation for black identity extremism.
Yeah,
like black
all
Israelites
7 of them. Yeah, the Hebrew Israelites.
Yeah.
They're being really mean on the street corner. And so like I think about their MS-13 and all these different gangs as terrorist organizations. There's so many like gang culture that's really insidious is what I'm getting at. Because you realize gang cultures has been also intrinsically connected to revolutionary action like worldwide historically.
Yeah.
It's gangs that usually where things start. The Black Panthers notoriously united gangs in Chicago. And so like it's just dangerous and scary. I don't have any like deep analysis on that, but like that's not an accident is what I'm trying to get at.
Yeah.
Like the fact that they're saying we now have the wherewithal, like what's next? Is it fraternity tattoos? Is it Che Guevara tattoo? That's Antifa. Antifa's a gang. So now we get to deport you. Yes, that's wild shit.
Yeah,
well,
no, that is precisely what they're going to move towards, and this dovetails into another conversation that I've been having quite a bit, which is that the Trump administration is very smart and very insidious in the way that they're tackling some of these issues, because they're getting their notes from the likes of the American Enterprise Institute and the Heritage Foundation.
People that have been studying and waiting for this opportunity for literal generation.
Like the unitary executive theory is not one that like the Trump administration came up with. They just simply adopted it in the Republican Party, and all of the think tanks associated with the Republicans and the conservative movement in America recognize Trump as a perfect vehicle to commit to this agenda. It's been implemented for the past 30, 40 years at this point. Same with the Federalist Society. This isn't Trump simply is the guy that is
he's their chosen
that is
one.
pushing all of this to its logical conclusion. And that's why I say it's insidious. They are eroding the First Amendment first by tackling the issue from non-citizens, from the perspective of people on student visas or even green card holders, as a matter of fact, legal permanent residents that are lawfully inside of the United States, by tackling the issue from the perspective of anti-Semitism, which has a lot of institutional clout and a lot of institutional power due to a lot of these Jewish affinity organizations that are simply there to defend Israel, but like can masquerade as
as anti-racist,
as anti-racist civil rights organizations, similar to the ADL.
Right.
So those institutions, those NGOs, and these organizations, and they get a lot of play within mainstream media. They have a lot of they still have a lot of institutional muscle, and the Trump administration is using that institutional muscle they have to basically collaborate with some of the most radical groups, all the way to like Beitar, which is a fucking 501c3, but it's actually literally a terror cell operating inside of U.S. boundaries, and getting their notes from them to open the door to eroding the First Amendment.
Right.
And once they have set a precedent, a dangerous precedent, then they can utilize it against documented U.S. citizens as well, and not even documented U.S. citizens, but like just American natural-born U.S. citizens as well.
Yeah,
it's a very sinister, way of like undermining one of the most powerful, one of the most popular constitutional protections that Americans have, citizen and non-citizen alike.
Yeah, I've definitely been looking at Zillow in Canada.
Yeah, you're gonna move
in case I have to split. I thought about that for you because you're not natural born. Like
no, I am.
Oh, I thought you.
Yeah, I'm an anchor baby.
Oh well, I mean, it's not that matters, to be honest with you. You have any tattoos?
No.
Okay, well,
I don't have any tattoos. I'm pretty.
What
white.
About that beard?
I can shave it and change my name to Hank.
And Hank Abby.
Yeah. The thing is, like, I always say, like, I'm at the end of that list. Like, by the time it gets to me, half of my chat will be, deported.
Yeah.
Given my financial status and given my status as a public personality, I'm not saying that like it will never get to that point. I can't make that prediction any longer because this administration is crazy. But like, all of those combined make me, they put me in the back of the list.
Yeah.
If I was who I am as a student activist, then I would be closer to on the possible CCOT list.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I mean, similarly, I've had that kind of like, because when Trump got reelected, going into the election, me and my wife talked a lot about, all right, so what do if he wins, and then afterward, what do? And it's a constant conversation, especially with every, like, I think people said, oh, this is going to be bad. I don't know who knew it would be this bad this quickly. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's already releasing Trump 2028 hats.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So like they're soft launching, a complete rearrangement of everything that America is stood for within the first 100 days. So it's no telling how bad it will get. I'm probably a little bit further in from you economically, but I'm still Black and I have a very particular history that's attached to my time here, my family, etc. Not like my family, like my mother and father, people that are behind me, and then I'm thinking about my own children. And I think about the fact that I have the resources. Canada's expensive as shit. I didn't know this until I started Googling. But I have the resources to get the fuck out of here at this point in my life. But like the reality of the situation is that by the time it's time to get the fuck out of here for the average person, it's gonna look like The Handmaid's Tale. You know what I'm saying? Or worse.
I'm also too stubborn. That's the other thing. Like I'm not, I'm very
sick.
stubborn. I'm not leaving, I'm not going anywhere.
Like if I were you, I would have reduced down to 1 4-hour stream a week, like
No,
3
fuck
years
no.
ago.
No.
I told you that last time I was like, hey, you should stream less. You should take more naps, do some yoga, and stream less. But you have cranked it up. But also to crank up, on a lighter note, since the irony of Trump being back in office is that like immediate aftermath of the Democrats being like, oh, we need a leftist Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
And everybody was like, Hasan. And I was like, yeah, but we also don't necessarily need the leftist Joe Rogan. We just need.
I agree. Which it's ironic because I've been saying that nonstop, and like
you're saying that has made you the leftist Joe Rogan.
People don't hear it. I keep saying like this is not an issue that you can podcast your way out of, and that it's not just about having more like more bros who are leftists or whatever. I mean that can help, but like. A lot of people, I think, even with this new recent New York Times piece that just came out, with the unfortunate title. I don't know if you saw it.
No, you have a New York Times piece?
Yeah, there was a new New York Times style section piece that came out. And it basically, let me see. A progressive mind in a MAGA body was the original title.
Oh, God.
But... They changed it to a progressive mind and a body made for the manosphere.
Dude, what are your proportions?
No, I don't know.
Even in real life, seeing you kind of being this proportion, it's still jarring.
I guess. But yeah, this was a long. It's an 11-minute long article, and it mostly focuses on the aesthetics of me being like a bro,
right?
And not really about like. I think. A fairly significant part of this equation, which is like what I'm saying, how I speak to the issues that Americans experience.
Yeah,
I think part of the reason why they do that is because it would have to come with the recognition from the New York Times that the
Democrats are bad.
Well, they'll say that. They'll usually say that from a right-wing perspective.
They'll say that, like, well, New York Times, I know, is a little less progressive, but like the more progressive criticism that goes to the Democrats, it's like the Democrats are losers or they're losing, right? They're not winning, but no one wants to say these things we're doing are bad for people, and that's why people have rejected us, and no amount of bros, no amount of you and what's the kind of fat white guy? He's a comedian.
Tim Dillon.
Sure,
there's a bunch of.
You're like one of 3 white people I know. That's famous. It's Stavros. Stavi,
baby.
Like no amount of you and Stavi and insert some other cool guys here.
Yeah,
like on a podcast is going to motivate the average. Because one of the things I brought up in my limited analysis of the election is that a lot of white dudes just stayed home and they're not engaged online. They're not engaged with politics. They don't actually know shit.
The ones that did go out and voted for Trump.
And the ones that, but that's like a unique, like even now, like I think it was really useful to point out that Trump has never had a popularity above like 50. Above like 40.
Post-election he did, but that went away very quickly.
Right. So he's never had high popularity, but he does have his fans and his sycophants and his followers and his evangelical wing. But like most regular people are repulsed by Trump, but not repulsed. That most regular people are indifferent because a lot of the things that he represents that other people see as problems, they're like, that sounds kind of bad, but whatever. You know? And so like those people aren't going to be motivated by culture war stuff. They're not going to be motivated by, political theater. They're thinking about basic
needs,
basic needs being met, the
Rent.
Rent,
affordability
is my job.
Even the people that voted for Trump, that especially like I think a lot of Gen Z, a lot of Gen Z men certainly had like that culture war attitude, but a lot of Gen Z men also, and a lot of like younger people were like, I'll give this a shot in the dark, in the same way that they did in 2016, where they were like, I want to break the system.
Right.
The system is not helping me. I want to break it with a mallet.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm going to vote for not the person who represents like
the system,
elite,
who's telling us this is working fine. Just let us keep doing our job.
And how do you get to that? You get to that. You get to that level. You find a new base of support by getting young men on board, because young men that were too young to remember how shitty the Trump administration was are willing to also entertain that notion.
Right.
This is a resentment towards institutions and status quo politics that led to Trump winning in 2016. It was something that I kept repeating in the buildup to this last election, where I just kept saying like, there is still, like, people were talking about the economy having a soft landing. And I was like, dude, in 2016, the economy was significantly better than it is now, and people still voted for Trump because it wasn't good for them.
Right.
You're looking at the wrong metrics.
Yeah.
You're not looking at the anxiety that people feel. I know that that's like a trigger word almost, where people go, oh, white men and economic anxiety. But like, yes, white men who have racist tendencies, or white people who have racist tendencies, are far more susceptible to leaning in the direction of culture war resentments if they also have a lot of instability.
Yeah.
If they also are recognizing a lot of instability in their lives.
Yeah.
So the best way to combat that is by giving them something.
Yeah.
And the Trump administration gives them something. The Trump administration says, we are going to further undermine the people that are beneath you, that you see as beneath you, and that will magically elevate your status, like the LBJ quote, right?
Right.
Whereas,
I mean, that goes back to the antebellum South. That's
exactly.
literally white sharecroppers endorsing the Confederacy because it meant that they still had a spot on the pecking order above, enslaved black people at the time.
Yes, exactly.
White people are like white Americans are like badass kids. And you just kind of have to, well, I'm thinking about like as a teacher.
Yeah.
Right? When I was a teacher, I knew who my badass kids were.
Yeah, you mean like bad kids?
Badass kids.
You mean badass? Like, what do you mean by badass? You mean like bad kids?
Like, well, yeah, like bad.
Yeah, bad
like
kids.
bad kids.
Yeah, because badass is like positive connotation.
Yeah. I don't know if I've ever used badass in a positive connotation, actually.
Well, white people use badass.
I know. But I do know that that's like
radical,
a white.
Like radical.
Yeah. Radical. Yeah. No, badass. No, badass is, I do understand.
You mean like asshole.
You're code switching for me now.
Yeah. You mean like asshole kids. Yeah, asshole kids. Yeah.
So asshole kids exist in every class. And like, a lot of my commentary about like the race politics of this has, been unpopular for reasons I understand. And some of it I amended in that last video. But I'm still of the mind, like when I say, like I'm not confident in AOC. Not for any other reason than she is not a white man, right? Mm-hmm. And so I think the psychopath y'all have running this state is probably who's going to win the
I hope
the
not.
nominee.
He fucking sucks.
I do too, but again, white people are badass kids, so you have to jingle keys like if you like there's a classroom with 30 people, and 13 of them are these badass kids, and you have to teach your lesson. You got to get through the class session. You can't call the principal to come get them because that's not something that happens in high need schools. You have to get them through the classroom, and you're counting on getting these 17 other kids to meet the standard, whatever else. So you have to design a lesson plan that neutralizes the badass kids. You have to figure out what's going to get them to shut the fuck up and chill out. Is it a video? Do you give them comic books? Do you turn on some music? Do you sit with them like I've had like, and this is not this is actually with white kids. When the 1 year that I taught white kids, where I would have like 2 different lesson plans designed. One lesson plan for the kids I know that I could work with autonomy, and then like a whole section of my freaky like out of their mind kids, and we're just having a roasting session, and I'm calling it learning figurative language. Like literally, I've done that before.
Yeah.
That is
Yeah,
a
you
state
gotta
of affair.
throw meat. You gotta throw meat in their way. I understand that. What I believe is that if you can earnestly communicate, set up your enemies, and actively go after them, you can overcome you can basically overcome those issues by just being like, listen, dude, I get it. Okay, you're afraid. Well, guess what? Donald Trump didn't fix your life. Democrats, certainly up until this moment, have never even entertained fixing your life. I'm telling you, your potholes are going to be fixed. I'm telling you, you're going to have housing. I'm telling you that you're going to have a good job with decent benefits and a good wage. And I think that the best possible way to overcome that is through implementing class politics, is a class first approach.
Yeah.
Because Americans are not very class conscious. The working class.
They're not openly. They're not like, what's the word? Consciously class conscious.
Yeah, they're not. They are not.
Like that Maggie alone shit lets me know that we're far more class conscious from like a intrinsic level.
Yeah. Like in an ironically almost reactionary way, where people only recognize their the issues that their class position presents when something like that happens. Right. But that is yet another instance of like how bad things have gotten, in my opinion. Americans are class conscious. Of course, billionaires are very class conscious.
Very class conscious.
But my point is like someone going about a class first political message can get a lot of leeway that way and not fall into the same traps. But that would require, unironically, attacking Democrats as well, and almost like a reverse Trump, like a bizarro Trump, where you have someone who's charismatic enough, who's willing to just like attack the media, willing to attack other institutional Democrats, and willing to declare even members of their own party as enemies. And I think that
would be the first time I would like, just hearing you say that, I'm like, oh man, imagine somebody running as a Democrat that admitted that they suck and pointed at the ones that suck openly. Yeah. That would actually be immediately effective. Yeah. Because, and that's also the scary thing about populism, is that populism is like an incredibly useful tool that has like the lowest barrier of entry. Yeah. If you're charismatic, and that's why I'm scared of this guy here in California, because I don't know if he's all that charismatic. I haven't seen enough of him, but he looks the part, and he's clearly
his policies and his messaging is so dog shit though. That's the reason why I think he's going to fail.
But look, so you know him now here, you know these things.
Yeah.
But he could be a whole different person in 4 years from now, or 3 years from now. And that person running for president with the right messaging could easily use the same populist approach.
Yeah. To hit the Barack Obama lines, like,
right.
We're a divided America. This is not a red America or a blue America. It's the
one
United
America.
States of America. Exactly.
Which is, my Barack Obama videos are like, I almost quit YouTube. I did 2 Barack Obama videos in 2022 maybe. And I almost stopped making video essays because nobody watched them, and everybody that watched it. And this is like, I hadn't even fully arrived at the current politics I am now. So it was like the nicest Barack Obama is bad videos I could have ever made. And they flopped in the algorithm, and half the comment section. I mean, now it's fine, but like I remember the comment sections being really angry at me.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, wow, we're clearly, and that was one of the frustrating things about.
He is one of the modern villains, I think, of American politics, like straightforwardly.
Yeah.
Like a lot of the shit that he did during his presidency, but also after his presidency, has directly, by I think mere accident too.
It wasn't the thing I'll give Barack Obama is that he believes his shit.
I don't even agree with that. I don't believe that.
Well, he did it about black people. His like race politics are 100% the race politics of Gen Xers and Boomers
Oh yeah,
toward
yeah,
black
yeah.
people.
No, I agree with that.
So
for
everything
sure.
else, maybe not. I think he was just trying to, play the middle. I don't know why he was so important. That was so important to him.
No, I think it's because he also was like firmly committed to neoliberalism,
Right.
and was disingenuous enough to like push forward a populist message to win an incredible mandate, only to then turn around and
But see,
just do
that's
the.
why I say I think he legit loves neoliberalism.
He does, yeah.
He loves
He
that
also
shit.
he also I think is like. I think he's a deeply selfish person who only cared about elevating his own status.
Oh yeah.
And that in and of itself is like perfectly visible in what he chooses to talk about right now in the second Trump administration. Part of the reason why I'm also saying this is also because of his betrayal against Jeremiah Wright and his betrayal. Like he used Jeremiah Wright to basically get like momentum in Chicago politics.
Do you know okay, so you know the deep lore.
Yeah,
like
yeah,
Barack,
yeah.
like Obama was too white and too Ivy League when he ran the first time.
Yeah.
He got beat the shit by Bobby Rush, I think. Some ex-Panther.
Yeah, who also is, ironically enough, now I think he's
not a MAGA, no.
No, but last thing he did was endorse Michael Bloomberg.
Oh yeah, I've seen that. I've seen that. The black bourgeoisie, they loved Michael. Like I remember, I knew several Bloomberg fans in Atlanta, the home of the black bourgeoisie.
Stacey Abrams.
Stacey Abrams being one of them.
Yeah.
I don't know what's happened with her. I feel like they let her out the. I don't know. I feel like she could have helped, but maybe was this shit happening that I didn't know about?
I think Stacey Abrams is like being
She's laying low.
being a black woman. She already gets like a shit ton of resentment from a lot of people, but then also on top of that, she was not charismatic enough in the same way that Barack Obama is to like navigate through that while also maintaining the same exact attitude of Barack Obama in terms of like
neoliberal politics,
calcified institutional defense, defending Michael Bloomberg, bringing her lawyer friend on board in a somewhat.
I've heard people are going. They were trying. I think one of the reasons why she's gone, I've heard locally, is that the local Republicans are trying to like go after her legally.
Oh yeah.
But I just remembered like being well aware. Like the only reason Biden won Georgia was because of the work she was doing in Georgia, and I think nationwide, but definitely in Georgia with like the voter stuff.
Yeah.
And like I do know that is one. Who is Jerry Connolly? So
Jerry Connolly is resigning because he's cancer treatments didn't work. He's the face of the Democratic Party. I'm confused. You don't.
Yeah, I don't be paying. Like
What is this?
I have just went to. I am in terms of like mainstream politics. I've kind of checked the fuck out. I'm doing.
We're locked in here. Don't worry. I'll fill you in on everything. Yeah, he's not seeking re-election and is stepping back soon as oversight ranking member. Jerry Connolly is cancer ridden, okay, and he's a long-serving Virginia Democrat. And he announced his diagnosis 6 months ago. I promise transparency, Connolly said in an open letter to his constituents Monday. After grueling treatments, we've learned that the cancer, while initially beaten back, has now returned. He was 75 years old. Now, what's interesting is AOC was trying to get this position as the ranking member of the Oversight Committee, right? And Nancy Pelosi,
good old Nancy,
was in a fucking hospital with a broken ass in France because she fell and broke her ass. And from that hospital, she was making fucking phone calls to be like, no, it has to be Jerry Connolly as the ranking member. She's not even a part of the Democratic Party at this point. She's literally like Speaker Emerita. She has like a position of a lot of influence, but basically was using all the influence that she has within the Democratic Party to make this guy, 75-year-old with cancer, the fucking ranking member of the Oversight Committee, as opposed to AOC.
Yeah. These are easy targets. It's frustrating when you put it like that. This is feeding into something you said earlier, which is
Nancy Pelosi fought from a French hospital bed with a broken hip to keep this geriatric with cancer. Yeah, I can get it from there. To keep this geriatric with cancer in office so she could snub AOC. Now, 6 months later, he's having to step down from oversight ranking member anyway. The Democrat, says Mike from PA. Absolutely correct. Oh, incredible stuff.
But yeah, so the Democrats, like Nancy Pelosi, nobody likes her. She's an easy target. That
Jerry's
guy-
a young 74, cancer notwithstanding, Congressman Beyer said, as they literally took the position away from AOC.
That sounds like a really funny line from like a,
Yeah.
I don't know who makes comedies now, but like that's a great comedy line.
Yeah,
You know-
you have to wait your turn around here. Representative Marcy Kaptur, a 4-decade veteran of Capitol Hill, told Notice. Great. That's just the way it works, they said.
Yeah. So these are easy marks. These are easy marks for any, and that's again the scary thing. And maybe it needs to be maybe this is AOC's like line in, where like it would not be hard to come up as a progressive populist by targeting these geriatric Democrats that have been doing fuck shit for the last 30 years.
Yeah.
This guy, obviously, I guess, Pelosi, I can't remember South Carolina, the black guy in South Carolina who I hate, whose name I can't remember right now. Like Eric Adams, like it wouldn't be much to just come out and say, because people are saying, like, the irony of like the right-wing talking point around black conservatives is that every black Democratic voter, even the ones that were highly enthused about Kamala when she was running, knows the Democrats ain't shit. We've known this forever. We just don't feel like there's much to do about it other than, you know, continue to push the fascism down the line a couple of years, which is, you know, clearly that didn't work this time around.
Yeah.
So like if someone were to come forward and be like, hey, I'm willing to say that these guys suck. But I guess the thing is though, that also, I was talking to, who was I talking to that said this? Some recent podcast I was on mentioned that we're also primed for a Tea Party movement. And the Tea Party movement is actually the precursor to what allows Trump to be a thing.
I've been talking about this for quite a while. I'm very familiar with the Tea Party movement. The problem with that is that it was not an organic movement. It was actually completely created by the Koch brothers.
Get George Soros to do it.
But George Soros loves the institutional Dems. That's the problem. George Soros is and it's not even George, it's Alex now, because George is like basically dead. His son, Alex Soros, who is married to Huma Abedin, Hillary Clinton's famous advisor, Huma Abedin, who was married to Anthony Weiner back in the day.
Okay.
Yeah, so like these guys are not like, they're not invested in a Bernie style left populist uprising within the Democratic infrastructure, because a left populist movement would undermine their position as billionaires.
Right.
So why would any billionaire
contribute to their own
demise? Exactly. So
it hence me keeping my I'm just saying prepared.
Yeah.
It's me being prepared.
It's not gonna,
people should all be.
It's just not. It's not gonna happen. Is what I'm saying. It's not going to happen in that way. It has to be grassroots, and it has to. And there is grassroots momentum, grassroots mobilization. True. And that's why I don't. That's why I don't like shit on all these mainstream institutions that are coming around to like offering people like myself coverage, because they recognize the popularity, but they don't want to scratch the surface of like where that popularity comes from. So they just stick to the aesthetics. It must be because he has this like MAGA adjacent packaging.
Because he's a bro.
Yeah, it's because he's
plays
a bro.
basketball.
They don't.
He's got a dog.
Yeah, they don't realize that like, no, a big part of my popularity also comes from my honesty and stubborn attitude, where like I'm saying, I'm telling it like it is, you know, in the most basic terms. Like, that's precisely the reason why no matter how much funding other like Democratic Party adjacent groups might get, and how much momentum they might get, and there are examples of this out there in independent media, the David Pakmans and the Midas Touch of the world. Yeah. Like there is a limit to how much
the establishment only wants to go to the surface level.
Yeah.
And see how they can co-opt it and integrate it into the system they've already built to feed the same machine.
Yeah.
With that, I watched your video the other day with a little short, and we're doing news. I was about to because I just watched your Daily Wire Schadenfreude video where everybody's channels are dying, which I always knew that their subscriber count never match their
Popularity,
popularity. People will subscribe. Well, first off, bots one.
Yeah.
Also, people will subscribe to channels. Reactionaries will subscribe to a channel that says a mean thing about insert population here they don't like
Yeah.
and never watch again because it's not something they're actually motivated by. Fuck, I forgot where I was going with that.
Well,
but it's funny to hear.
They're falling apart partially because of the popularity, I would say, of the Trump administration. Like, there's no need for guys like that when Trump is in power, and then Trump is in power and your financial situation is not getting better. You go, okay, what the fuck is this? I thought if we just like dominate trans people enough, then we'll ultimately get financial freedom.
Remove DEI, then I'll get the job that I'm not qualified for.
And it's like that's precisely the problem. That's not happening. This happened in the first Trump administration as well. A lot of these like right-wing guys that got so much prominence leading up to the election started slowly dying out. Some of them straightforwardly were white nationalists and white supremacists. And a lot of people started moving away from that because people recognized that this kind of politics in practice was gross and it was too much for them. Like child separation as a mechanism of deterrence was like a bridge too far for many people. And so, you know, they realize that this is bullshit, that they're being served bullshit.
No, what I was trying to figure out from when I was watching the video was why are Morgan Cooper, is that her name? Something Cooper?
Brett Cooper.
Brett Cooper. Why are her and Asmongold still working? Like, what are they doing? Like, because I do not, like, I've tried to watch, I try to keep up with shit, right? A little bit. I'm a video essayist nerd for real. That's why I'm good at my job. Yeah. Because that's all I really watch on YouTube most of the time, in between like a football podcast and something about anime or a horror story, whatever. But I'll dabble when I see things are popping off on the timeline. Okay, who's this? What's this? What's happening? And I don't know. Do I even want to start fires with certain people while I'm here? Because I've also gotten blowback from another individual that whose name I don't want to bring up, who had people emailing in my DMs a couple of weeks ago, and I was like, I have nothing to do with this. Please stop. Don't give me an excuse to make a video about it. But I'm wondering, like,
I feel like I know who you're talking about.
How is, like, I've never seen Brett Cooper videos. Never popped up on my timeline. Yeah, I only remember her because you mentioned her years ago.
I'll tell you what it is. Brett Cooper is like the right wing's answer deliberately to what I was doing at the time, because they're much smarter than liberals are in general. Right. They openly admit this to this as well. Like, Turning Point USA documents show, like, basically do what Hasan is doing in their fucking.
But it looks so fake, though.
It is, but it doesn't matter. People still, you know,
she's
they
talented
still like
enough to carry it.
Yeah, I think she is. I think she is talented for sure. It's because she was doing what I do in the way that, like, I don't always serve you the vegetables. I give you some, you know, I give you some sweet around it as well, right? Like, I don't just talk about politics or reveal my worldview every single moment. Right. But I do it in the process of, like reacting to silly shit or talking about culture and lifestyle. And that's precisely what she does, where she focuses on like things that are popping in the ecosystem. Like, you know,
not enough fuckable women in video games.
Well, that's Asmongold. So
that's Asmongold. Okay.
So Asmongold does that as well, where he is like established. He's an established, prominent figure that has like all the reactionary tendencies that gamers have, and he for years and years has been doing this like anti-woke shit in gaming. Right. And it was perfectly organic for him to move into the political sphere as well, in the political arena as well, and then talk about Trump from the perspective of content. And present himself as like an apolitical, unbiased guy who just seemingly always on board with Donald Trump. Right. So those are, notice how for both of these guys, for Brett Cooper is drama and culture, and for Asmongold is also drama and culture as well, but like mostly gamer related shit. It's not like Ben Shapiro in the way that Ben is a political commentator first and foremost, and boring and nerdy and annoying, and tries to like intellectualize reactionary ideology. For them, they're just like you. They're a regular guy who has these opinions and
Doesn't
thinks Trump is
shower.
fucking based. There are a lot of people like that.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, there are a lot of people, especially online, like Asmongold.
The online, because, you know, when I started out, it's funny, my first like super big video was about Bo Burnham. And in the middle of that video, I reject the idea of ever being a bread tuber because I had the suspicion, even though I loved me some ContraPoints and, you know, all the OG bread tube, you know, founding figures. I had the looming suspicion that the bread tube audience was toxic and that the environment was toxifying. And not overly serious, right? In terms of like actual like IRL action towards, you know, liberation, yada, yada, yada. Plus I just, you know, politics is fucking stressful. But sorry, I'm losing my train of thought. Just got off the fucking plane. What I was trying to get at basically is that like when I look at the landscape of like what our audience is versus what they do, and then what their audience is versus what they do, it feels like we're going to be much easier in terms of just the career aspect to sustain. Like the fact that I came up under while Joe Biden was president. I don't think so. If we elect, you know, if Kwame Ture resurrects and becomes president of the United States in 2028, and we have the most Pan-Africanist, Black power, worst nightmare of certain people, presidency of all time, I don't think I'm going to lose momentum as a channel. You know what I'm saying? And like,
I mean, I would probably quit because I would go and join the administration as the propaganda minister.
Yeah, we would do that for you. We would do that for you. We got to talk about white people. Can I plug? Am I too early to plug? We got some more news to get to. What we want to do?
Whatever you want.
Can I?
Do you want a drink?
No, I'm gonna stick with water because I know I'm gonna eat. I've been eat like I'm trying to get like you. I'm trying to lose like 20, 30 pounds.
I'm gonna order chicken in a little bit if you want to eat what I eat.
That sounds horrible.
Healthy Middle Eastern chicken. It's actually delicious though.
Okay, a healthy Middle Eastern chicken. See,
Yeah.
See that if you just said chicken.
Yeah. What did you think I was gonna get? Just like bland
chicken,
boiled chicken,
boiled chicken, the best way.
No. No way.
So fucking white people. My where the camera at? Only on Nebula, talking to white people. The first Nebula original feature from FDSIGNIFIER. What you were in. Which you had you had a funny conversation. I don't know if you watched it yet. Everybody,
you told me not to watch it.
Well, no, I told you not to watch the other video I put on YouTube that was about how in whiteifying your presence is, because you're kind of like the son of the online left right now. And like,
I didn't even realize that was what that was about. I thought the video that you didn't want me to watch was the white people one that I was in, because you were saying that it would
ruin the point. If
you watch it, it would ruin the point.
So I made a video talking about the online left like political landscape. Because the thing that I started thinking about since the Drake video, right? So after the Drake Kendrick video, I knew I was about to hit 1 million within like 6 months to a year. I just like, all right, the momentum has been supercharged. I knew I was going to hit it eventually anyway, but clearly I need to start thinking about it actively because it's incoming. And what I noticed is that between first, becoming relevant and like that point, my Black audience had begun to shrink. Not in terms of like losing Black viewers, but
more white people were coming in.
More white people were coming in. The percentage, I think YouTube specifically, like I just don't think Black people get their politics from YouTube. I know like historically, all of the people that I knew were politically inclined were Instagram and now TikTok, Twitter. The video essay as a thing to consume was not something that had crossed over, and then YouTube's algorithms. I think YouTube may have low key like the worst overall algorithm for definitely for Black political content. But I think in general, in terms of like building novel bubbles. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like I know if I like I stopped using TikTok about couple months ago because I got hacked, and I was like, all right, that's just God telling me to leave it alone. But I know if I get on TikTok if I get on it for like 3 days straight, within that 72-hour period, I'm gonna have the algorithm I had for that whole 3-year period while I was using it. Because TikTok is so intuitive of knowing what I want and what like I really want to watch, and also what I want to be exposed to, etc. Whereas YouTube is just like, oh, you watched this video, here's 30 more videos from this specific person. Yeah. And maybe a handful of videos that this person, other viewers that watch this person watch, which is still good. Like, it's good for me and my channel, right? Like when a video blows up, that's really good for my channel because they will be flooded with my content. But you have to put in so much effort to get YouTube to say, if you like FD, you'll probably like Lil Bill. You'll probably like Andrewism. You'll probably like these people. YouTube doesn't naturally do that. It's one of the reasons why I share so many videos on my
YouTube
page.
Naturally always wants you to somehow loop back around to white supremacist
right? Or Mr. Beast.
Yeah. That is what it is, though. Like YouTube's algorithm is like tweaked in a way where it almost always goes back to fucking politics is almost always dominated by right-wing shit. Yeah. TikTok is the only platform where it's like a 50-50 split, and that was enough for people to be like, we gotta get rid of this. We gotta get rid of it. Yeah. Yeah. So in any case, let's talk about Current Affairs' latest reporting from because this kind of goes back to like liberal outlets as well. I'm not disrespecting like Brian Tyler Cohen or David Pakman or whatever. They all occupy this space, and they, I think, do a much better job than some of these other supposedly apolitical centrist or liberal content creators. But from what I understand, they Current Affairs actually found out that there was a deliberate attempt by Midas Touch and David Pakman and the Brian Tyler Cohens of the world to purposely avoid talking about Israel. Like, where under the Biden administration, they recognized that this was like not
a losing battle.
Yeah. The Midas Touch political podcast has rapidly become the most successful in the United States. This is the Wall Street Journal writes. Downloads and views of Midas Touch on platforms including YouTube, Spotify, Apple more than double over the past month to top 115 million. This is more than twice what Joe Rogan had during the same time period. Midas Touch is run by three brothers, Ben, Brett, and Jordy Maislas. Ben, a lawyer, got a start by interning for Sean Diddy Combs at Bad Boy Records before working in the office of Hillary Clinton and Representative Steve Israel.
That is a interesting set of resume stops on your resume, but okay.
He later became, but I love Midas Touch, like in a somewhat ironic way, because like I always say they do like George Bush era liberalism.
That's
like,
adorable.
I've been a defender of Midas Touch for quite a while because like they're the ones who will make like video compilations of talking about how like the Republicans are pedophiles. Like they're hardcore sometimes.
Lovely.
So I like that. I think you need that.
You need more of that. I mean? But so they're leaning into the popular, and they just took over Joe Rogan. That's the only I had never heard of them.
Yeah.
Until like I guess they overtook Joe Rogan in the last couple of months as #1 podcast in the world or the country or whatever.
Like I'd rather have those guys also constantly battling. Like the way I see it is, you don't have to agree with me 100% of the way. You don't even have to agree with me more than 50% of the way. But as long as you understand that Trump is a fascist and that the Democrats need to fight, I'm there with you.
We're off to a start.
Yeah, like you don't have, as long as you're not putting the crosshairs on like people who are more to the left of you constantly and making them your enemy to try to position yourself as like the moderate, reasonable party here. Right. Then, we're in this battle together, and that everyone plays a different role. And that's the way I see it.
Yeah,
like,
that's one of the things I've adopted as I've gotten bigger is that like I get more criticism from the left as I've gotten bigger. And initially it hurt, I get frustrated.
I never pay attention to it.
Yeah. But I started just platforming those people as much as possible. And then just being like, unsubscribe and see how that works out for me. You know, we'll work on it. So like, yeah, folks, I do think that is something that more larger creators should do, though, is like point to the people further left than them. Whereas like I do think there's an unspoken what's the word I want to use here? There's just a posture of everybody knows that, I don't know, folding ideas is on the left, right? But like using those big videos to posture, just like a wink and a nod, is something that everybody who's in AKA BreadTube should be doing a little bit more. It's just a pinch more.
Yeah.
Like, do we acknowledge like the most abrasive, you know, off-putting, you know, elements of the One on the Left or One on the Left creators? Maybe not. But do you point out the fact that your position is not the end point? I think that's important. And I think more people should be doing that.
Yeah. I have a policy of usually not engaging with, you know, the punching of the left.
Yeah.
Partially because, especially if there are not that many people that are more radical than myself, I would say, in terms of being a leftist. But I'm not going to spend any amount of time talking about people like that and like criticizing them and being like, we're not in agreement.
Right. Because it's not useful. Because I can't remember who I was having this conversation with. They were like, you guys need to get the freaks of your side in control. Oh, fucking I'm almost afraid to say his name this publicly. But I feel like I feel shit if I didn't. PF Young. He's like he's a centrist kind of guy thing.
I don't know who PF Young is.
Oh man, I feel like I don't know if I'm doing something good for the universe right now by broadcasting his name. He's interesting. He's one of the most interesting creators I've watched recently. Jung, Jung. But I did a talk with him, and he had this argument about managing the freaks on your side or something like that. And I was explaining to him that no, that's not actually a useful thing to do.
Many people believe
as you build if you're trying to build a political activity in a movement.
I think you've brought him up before.
Yeah. I mean, I've talked to him in real life. I've talked to him. He doesn't seem like some of the times when he says stuff, I'm like, all right, I'm never talking to you again. But other times I'm like, there's an interest in there. Cause he's reduced all of this shit to memes. And as dumb as that sounds, as I start thinking about populism right now, it actually feels like,
I mean, there's also J-Reg does that too.
J-Reg, yeah.
A lot of these guys do that.
Yeah.
A lot of these guys.
Him and J-Reg, I think. Yeah, there you go, right there.
Yeah. Or there's the conservative JJ McCullough, who's like a conservative in Canada. So he's like the most woke gay libtard by American standards. But like these guys actually have a political home within the framework of the Democratic Party, because like their defensive institutions and their centrism, their radical centrism, unironically fits perfectly within the Democratic Party, but it actually doesn't fit at all within the popular like actual voters for the Democratic Party don't fuck with that.
Right.
Because most voters for the Democratic Party are not voting positively for the Democratic Party. They're voting because there's no other alternative, and they don't want an incompetent asshole who's like a rabid fascist to become president.
They're afraid that if they don't vote for the Democratic president, that the guy that will become president will create a Gestapo to go and get. Is Gestapo the right?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. That's what I'm thinking of.
So, but these guys don't understand that. They're like, they've actually adopted the framework of the Democratic Party completely, even though there is not any real organic popular support for the actual thing that the Democratic Party represents, the actual political like third way neoliberalism that the Democrats represent. So they just have to do memes and try to like.
Did I say it wrong? Gestapo, Kenloy swim team.
No, Gestapo is correct, or Gestapo is correct. But anyway, but the Midas Touch guys don't necessarily do that. They are like fighters, I would say. So they want the Democrats to like fight, and they are still firmly within the ranks of the Democratic Party. But They've been receiving a lot of favorable press. The Times reports that they're fast becoming power brokers in Democratic politics. Party faithful hope finally replicating the influential media ecosystem that Republicans have built over the past decade. They're described as the independent progressive media network that is reshaping progressive media landscape. They have 12 full-time employees, 30 regular contributors, Trump fixer Michael Cohen and former Trump associate Lev Parnas. The one thing that you start recognizing is that there's a reason why they're not all there when it comes to Israel.
Yeah.
Because like
They're
Lev
still attached
Parnas,
to you.
Lev Parnas is a TikToker, or sorry, his son is a TikToker, Aaron Parnas. I shouldn't even know any of these fucking people, but like his son is a TikToker. But again, these guys are all like
Oh, I remember that story.
they're super pro Israel. They're pro Israel and they're super pro Ukraine. They have this like unique position, so they don't talk about one of these issues that is like incredibly, one of these issues that's like incredibly important to a lot of people,
Right. And unpopular.
and also it's just they're trying to navigate this space. They're trying to navigate this space to create like popular momentum behind this this kind of politics, which I agree with, and it's it's great. I'm glad that they're doing that, but it I think comes across as inauthentic.
I want to
end of the
sleep
day.
like Kaya sleeps.
Yeah.
This is the most like
Yeah.
nothing is wrong in the world.
Yeah,
I'm
she sleeps
taken
with her
care
belly up.
of.
It's crazy.
Her leg is up. It's like barely.
Their entire content revolves around criticizing Donald Trump and sometimes Elon Musk. As of writing, in the last 7 days out of 108 videos the Midas Touch YouTube channel put out, exactly 5 are not about Trump. 1 is about Elon Musk, 2 are about congressional Republicans, and 2 are about Bernie Sanders' Midwest speaking tour. The title scream in all caps with plentiful exclamation marks. Trump in full collapse as he quickly ruins everything. Thumbnail, falling apart Donald, 1.1 million views. They're getting a lot of fucking views. Now, what's ironic is that
is slop though.
But the
And
thing
this is my thing with, like,
but the thing is,
populism.
this
Go
is-
ahead.
David Pakman was getting a lot of views in the lead up to the election too, because he kept saying like Kamala Harris is gonna win. And then there was an exodus of subscribers that left him, and he couldn't comprehend. He was like, "What the fuck's going on? Why did so many people unsubscribe from me?" Because they felt burned
Right.
by being misguided.
Yeah.
And I think it works in the short term where you develop a lot of momentum if you're constantly just like going, Trump is sucks, Trump is ass, or whatever. And Trump is ass, and there
Right.
is need for this kind of slop for
Right.
sure.
Yeah, we need the slop, but it does remind me of
Yeah.
I think one of our first conversations where you talked about I think it was about drama, and you were like, when people kind of make the entirety of their public content presence pointing at another guy and about how bad that guy is, that only bring in certain types of people for certain types of content. And like once Trump is gone, right? They're not gonna find another Trump. Once Trump is gone, first off,
Yeah.
as if that'll
Inshallah.
happen. Right, inshallah, indeed. But once Trump is gone, what is their podcast if they're not doing anything else to build? And this is my frustration with a lot of this shit, because like I agree with you wholeheartely that this is a necessary, especially right now where we're essentially starting from the beginning. I said that in a video, like the left, ostensibly speaking, air quotes, right? Being like left of the Democrats, we're like we're the most visible we've been probably in 50 years in terms of like the amount of cultural cachet we have after the CIA murdered and or forced everyone to leave the country.
Yeah.
Right, in the 70s. So like, yay. But in that 50-year period, the right really got a serious lead in terms of the culture wars, their media savvy, their manipulation of the media, like the Newt Gingrich and trucker radio, like in the 90s, like that. I had a whole video planned about that maybe I'll get back to one day, but like the story of how Newt Gingrich built the modern Republican Party is a slow, methodical process. And so to counteract that, we do need slop, but to sustain it, we do need that slow, methodical processing. We do need...
Because Newt Gingrich, Rush Limbaugh, Glenn Beck, and all of the new media had ultimately a right-wing project associated with it. It wasn't just about saying Democrats are gay and also want to abort your children. Like there was a political mobilization that the audience was directed towards, and then that agenda was completely in line with the Republican Party. It worked so well within the Republican media infrastructure and within the party structure as well. Whereas these guys are trying to recreate that by simply saying like, fuck Donald Trump or whatever, right? And of course they have to only say that because if you want to work within the Democratic Party structure,
That's got to be your first step.
That's the only thing you have, because the Democrats don't have any policies that you can associate with that we should be fighting towards,
Right.
because they themselves don't actually want those policies to be implemented, because they themselves are also
Beholden to the
funded
same,
by the
yeah.
exact same capital interests.
Yeah.
And that's the major issue here, is that there is the Democratic Party's base is directly at odds, and their needs are directly at odds with the Democratic Party's actual implementation of a legislative agenda, a decipherable legislative agenda. This is what I've been talking about with like the Pod Johns and everybody else. Like the notion that the Democratic Party is still going to ultimately be a status quo party is gone. You can't keep that up. You can't just like aesthetically try to make yourself more radical presenting while simultaneously you're not actually advocating to improve the working class material conditions.
And so their new strategy then now is to, well, one of the new strategies is to convince us.
Yeah, this is Aaron Parnas. Like, he says like Israel's not committing a genocide. The United States will stand with Israel, praying for Israel tonight. Despite what some may try to claim, the state of Israel has a right to exist and a right to defend itself against terrorism. I stand with Israel and Israel high. Like, this is an issue, right, where you are finding yourself increasingly on the margins on. Like, there is no real popular mobilization. It's only like Hasbara bots and Israeli Knesset granted, like Israeli Knesset funded special interest organizations that are trying to create momentum around it, but it doesn't fucking, it's not real. Most people are either anti-Semitically against Israel, and there's a lot of those guys now as well. It's like growing in momentum, and you have the Candace Owenses of the world that are leading that charge, the Dan Bilzerians, the Candace Owenses, and the fucking, all these guys that are constantly, in my opinion, doing the funniest thing ever, which is to like whitewash America's hands from all of these crimes, to be like, no, it's because Jews were doing mind control,
right?
Or
not
Jews
not because of oil interests and infrastructure.
Jews are doing like pedophilic Mossad, and Jeffrey Epstein is just like exclusively a Jewish operation. It's like, dude, you're so fucking stupid. Like,
not stupid. This shit is on purpose. Like, stupid would make it seem like it's.
No, they're American exceptionalists, and they think that like Christians, if they were to rid themselves of this like Jewish attitude, that they would become this perfect, infallible Christian nationalist nation.
Of course.
But basically, it's stupid for that reason, because like it tries to present America as like it creates this attitude of American infallibility, and it's just like removing all the crimes that our politicians have engaged with, and then immediately saying, no, it's because of the blackmail operation that like Mossad is doing on everybody. It's like, no, dude, they fucking love Israel organically, okay? It's not because of blackmail. Like, you're a fucking idiot for thinking that. But that's one aspect of the anti-Israel coalition. The other aspect is where I'm at, where I actively combat anti-Semitism, and I'm also a firm and committed anti-Zionist. And it like, at the end of the day, from Israel's perspective, I guess, from the interests of Israel, like, it doesn't matter. There is no fucking popularity for Israel. It's gone. It's over. It's done. Whether for anti-Semitic reasons or for anti-Zionist reasons, like real anti-Zionist reasons, it's done.
And this has the danger. So a Midas touch has the danger of pulling that into, because everything you just said is true for people who are paying attention to politics, or who are like the people who are normies that just don't like Trump, and actually that's the extent of their political ideology that I'm sure make up a large chunk of the Midas touch. If they were to actually learn about what's happening, that would be a big problem. And that's kind of the thing that's frustrating, maybe even scary. Because I see opportunities, I don't want to say, as I see more attention being paid to our space by the Democratic Party, you touched on it a second ago. They're basically trying to co-opt the wave that we've built organically to somehow reintroduce it, like reconstruct it to support the Democratic project in whole. When in reality, it's just like you're the only game in town. And I guess I'm gonna talk to you under the circumstances, but I'm not gonna not point out the things that I hate about you in the process. So as we're talking about the possibility of this populist figure, how do they exist in opposition to the Democratic Party and the powers that control that party without that organic grassroots movement to push them forward when they're going up against, like, so I would have thought that the Midas touch was way more organic before today, not knowing any better because I don't pay attention.
I mean, it's partially organic because, like, they get elevated by the Democratic Party, and they recognize that there is need for, like, anti-Trump commentary, so they filled that void, right? But ultimately, it's just not enough, and it will be left rudderless when it has to do the thing that it always does, which is defend the Democratic Party.
Right.
When the Democratic Party engages in shit that is indefensible. Right. And that's the problem. That's what I'm trying to explain here. Like, it's gonna turn into the same thing that happened with David Pagman in the aftermath of the election, where people go, okay, well, you told us Kamala was definitely winning. What the fuck is this shit?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Did we order the chicken? Yeah, I'm starving.
Okay.
How long is it gonna take to get here?
I was gonna wait for this other place to open, which opens at 3 in 7 minutes, but then it'll take only half an hour to get here, as opposed to a place where I can order from right now is gonna take like 45 minutes to an hour.
It's about the same either way.
Yeah. All right, we'll just order right now. That's fine.
No, either one is fine because it's about the same either way. So one is better than the other because I'm down. I'm trying to.
Do you want grilled chicken or do you want something different?
Give me the. Is this Mediterranean?
Yeah.
Give me a grill. You got a shawarma? Is that Mediterranean or do I do a racism?
It's not
healthy. I gotta be healthy. Fuck, you're right.
I'm gonna get you what I get myself.
Yeah, okay. That sounds awful, but I'm gonna do it.
Okay.
Because I'm trying to lose weight.
I'm gonna get you one thing of chicken. Like, I eat 2, and you're gonna get 1 because
this is my.
And then
problem.
I'll give you a treat on the side as well.
Shawarma's not healthy. It's like
no. It's so fatty. Here, I'll get you.
No.
I'll get you chicken shish kebab as well.
Okay.
Which is like
a little more
still healthy, but like a little, Here, I'll get that with bulgur as well, so you can.
I have lost like 15 pounds.
In
the last, like slowly in the last year or so, because I just started. I think the end of 2023. Yeah, end of 2023. I started working out regularly for the first time in like since I had kids. And so like from I think 2023, I was probably like 310. And so I'm down to around 290 now. And because I'm in my 40s, so like weight doesn't drop off like it used to. But I'm looking at myself I gained a bunch of weight going into COVID. During COVID, I gained a bunch of weight, especially doing this. This is sedentary. And then I was locked in. I used to edit all my own shit. Shout out to my editors. Like I said, shout out to Oni Simone, who's a long time chatter for you, like a long time chatter.
Yeah, I got him a bunch of for Socialismus. I got him a bunch of streaming equipment too.
Oh, dope. Yeah, Oni's my new editor that I got after an old editor I had to let go. Who is doing He's actually just sent me a video I'm gonna drop on my side channel about Shannon Sharp. Shout out to Babilla, who also edits. Shout out to Overthrow Media, who edits. Shout out to Zassman, who edits. And even shout out to Nick. Nick, says still fucks you. Got love for you, Nick. Hope you're doing okay. But what the fuck was I saying before? I wanted to make sure I shouted some people out. Oh, I gained a bunch of fucking weight because I was editing my own shit. And I was doing, when I first started, I was doing 2 hour-long videos like a month. So now I'm at like one 90-minute-ish video every 2 months. and it's done, you know, the work is spread between me and at least one editor, if not like 2 or 3 sometimes. But basically, the video I first had you in, where like at the end of it, I had a panic attack and I was freaking out because I was like, I finally am, you know, I'm in a position to let my wife stop working, and then I'm about to die and she's gonna have to collect insurance off me.
You're not. You just gotta get back on track. That's it.
Well, I am on track. I'm on track in terms of like habits. Food is tough though. Like I can go 3 solid days.
That's the most important aspect of it.
I know. That's some bullshit.
You just gotta set yourself up for 21 days of like consistency, and then it'll automatically trigger events in motion.
So I've done it before. Like I was down to like I was down in the 260s going into like coming out of Christmas. I was in like 269, and I was like, oh shit, it's about to happen. I'm really about to get back to like my college weight. So my college weight's like 240. And I don't remember what happened, but it stopped.
Yeah. Well, it breaks. It like it's I mean, these are some cliches, but I do abide by them because like they've been very helpful for me. But the abs are made in the kitchen is actually pretty solid.
It's completely true.
You cannot outwork your diet. That's number one. And number two is that it takes 21 days to build a healthy habit, but like 2 days to break it.
That's some bullshit.
It's true though. Like you eat poorly. I see this in myself. I eat poorly for like a couple days where I just like give up. And boom, all of a sudden, it's just like much harder to get back in the groove of things.
But it's easier when you've done it before though. And so like I've never been a little guy, and I love food. Like I'm a foodie. I'm from Chicago. Chicago is one of the best food cities in the country.
Yeah.
And so like it probably is like date night. Like I'm doing good. I haven't ate a carb in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And I've reduced my sugar to this, and I can see I've got over the point of like there's always a withdrawal point for me. I don't know if that's something you do or other people that are healthy do, but like when I get back into my diet, I get like 48 hours and I'm normal, and then like there's a 3-day period where I'm like, do I need to call a hospital? Because I have this like really bad headache. I'm checking my blood pressure over and over again. And I'm like, oh shit, my body's just purging the toxins. And so once I get past that, I'm good. But then, it's like, baby, let's go to this steakhouse. You know what I'm saying?
No, you can't do that.
But that's what I want to do.
You can't do that.
And I like, see, and this is why I'm like, that I am normal still. And I don't want to stop being normal, but I also don't want to die.
No, you gotta be a little abnormal. You gotta make that abnormality your normal. All right, let's get back to this though, and then I gotta get back to the news as well.
Brian Tyler Cohen,
no
who calls himself an independent progressive political host and previously worked part-time for MSNBC, has been regularly covering news and politics on YouTube since 2018.
What is this
But
accent?
a review of his channel shows
such a funny
that during the
question.
2020 election cycle, he
long
never
story.
once featured Bernie Sanders in a video title or thumbnail, despite posting daily content and racking up millions of views. That wasn't an oversight. It was a deliberate editorial choice, one that reveals Cohen's real political priorities. According to Semaphore, Brian Tyler Cohen was also involved in launching Good Influence, originally known as Ad Advocacy, a digital consulting firm which it says creates meaningful impact for causes and campaigns through our powerful network of online messengers. Former Vice President Kamala Harris has been one of the firm's top clients, as a search of Federal Election Commission data shows that the Harris campaign spent more than $600,000 on digital consulting and licensing fees from Good Influence between July and November 2024. Good Influence's founder, Stuart Perlmutter, has publicly documented visits to the White House alongside prominent liberal influencers such as Cohen, Pacman.
Except this I think reveals the real issue here. That's Lindy Lee. Tizzy is fine. He's like an independent content creator or whatever. He's like a lib.
Yeah, I've seen
but
it before.
Lindy Lee, on the other hand, is
Not familiar with her
a
at all.
fucking demon. She is an anti-Bernie demon that originally popped off talking about how like the Bernie bros were harassing her or some shit. And now she is firmly within the ranks of the right. She has like completely finished her pivot to the right. She worked for Bernie and backstabbed Bernie, was like an insider that said like the Bernie bros are a massive problem or whatever. in 2020.
The Bernie Bros were a problem.
No,
I'm sorry. I know this is a contention I've had.
I will never agree to that.
I witnessed.
Look at
this. I wasn't online.
Look at what she's posting now. The Bernie Bros are a problem, lady. Democrats are a dangerous cult of migrant lovers. Instead of deporting criminal aliens like Abrego Garcia, Dems are calling for me to be deported because I dare to criticize them and expose their corruption. I'm a proud tax-paying and law-abiding American. I'm already home.
Wow.
Keep defaming me. It's all going. It's all happening.
Yeah, that's wild shit.
But
explain dude's accent.
He's like, he has British background, but he's not. He grew up in America.
He sounds like half French.
Yeah, that's what it is. That was like a big point of contention. Everybody dunks on current affairs and Nathan online, but I mean, he's been fairly consistent throughout these
he looks
years.
Like he looks like Tucker Carlson's like tether.
Bizarro Tucker Carlson.
Yeah, like Bizarro
Beasley
Tucker Carlson, but he talks like H Bomber guy, so it's like weird. But
Andy Lee, who has since left the Democratic Party and is now fundraising for Donald Trump. One of Good Influence's other featured influencers, Kenny Walden, who goes by the name Too Raw, Too Real online, has taken his loyalty to the Democratic establishment.
Oh my God, you don't know Too Raw, Too Real? Yo, that's the GOAT.
Is that the dude
that's the K-Hive?
In a good way or a bad way?
No, in a bad way. That's the K-Hive guy.
Is he the one? So is he the one that did like a dance, like when they were protesting Israel, and he like did a dance walking into a like an event?
Oh no, that he does look like that. You're talking. That's racist, by the way. Wow. Oh, so all black guys look the same, FD? No, that's some random. That's a random black dude that was leaving the DNC going, la la la, can't hear you.
I always thought that was an influencer.
Yeah, I don't know who that guy was, but no, he.
the fight with black liberals over Kamala is still ongoing at this point, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
like I probably have 3 more.
Let me ask you this, okay? This is my.
This is your one white question while I'm here.
This is my white question. I have this speculation that I think like the backbone of the Democratic Party infrastructure is black women. That's not a speculation. That's just the truth, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think some of the most like radical, but also simultaneously some of the most like, I guess, institutionalist Democrats are also black aunties.
Mm-hmm.
Like they are the backbone of the Democratic Party, and also the most like the highest density consumers of like the MSNBC style liberalism. And it's not just through MSNBC, but it's through like church groups.
Got you. Yes.
And all of the infrastructure, the mobilization infrastructure the Democratic Party uses, especially in the South.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that the black aunties are not like organically conservative, or rather, they're already making a bargain to vote for the Democrats, knowing full well that many of these people that they're voting for are racist, you know, white guys in general, but just like marginally less racist. So if they're making that bargain already, if they're already like making that mental math, I think that they would abso-fucking-lutely be on board with like a populist, left populist movement, whether it's Bernie or AOC. And I think they do like AOC a lot. Like the black aunties do like AOC.
I don't know if AOC. I don't know if I have AOC. There's. I mean, so I'm listening to the tea leaves and like I'm in the group chats, right? So AOC is not unpopular, but I just know there's a general animus and suspicion sometimes with the acceptable Latina figure getting a little too close to black centers of power, like by the nature of like history and just like you just said, like it is what it is. When white randoms come in to the black centers of power, it's like, yeah, we got to let you in. We don't have a choice. Mm-hmm. But AOC has basically one chance to fuck it up with black women, and it's a wrap. So I hope somebody lets her know that.
So they're suspicious.
They're not suspicious yet.
Okay.
They're suspicious as they would be to any non-black person who is asking of them. So if AOC could very easily win them over with a populist message.
Yeah.
She could also immediately ruined it forever.
Okay. So the speculation that I have, I think you're on board with, but is that if like the media infrastructure and the mobilization infrastructure was firmly committed to defending a left populist message, I think that the backbone of the Democratic Party, like the black aunties, would be perfectly on board with whoever that person is.
Are you up on this Target boycott situation with
No.
Pastor Jamal Bryant? So I go to my channel real quick, and you can see a picture. Did I put that on B-sides or go to my posts? I think on B-sides. So, and this is exactly what you're talking about. It doesn't surprise you that you don't know because it's very church auntie core. Go to posts. Scroll down. Some more Shador, football, Shannon Sharp.
Oh no.
Okay, go to the main channel.
Oh, did you play South of Midnight?
I'm like an hour and a half
like
in.
it?
Yeah. Well, the gameplay is not great. But its story is great. But I suck at like keeping on. Go to my main channel. That's the side channel.
Okay,
Go to the
so
main
it's not
channel.
on the side channel.
It's
on
not
the
a side
main
channel. It's on the main
Okay.
channel. Shout out to Pastor Jamal Bryant. I'm still waiting for that email to come back through. I'm trying to because I one of my pet projects is like, okay, what you're saying is correct, and keep going.
You post a lot.
Yeah, that's part of the.
This is
There we go, right there. That's Pastor Jamal Bryant. Now Jamal Bryant has some history, has some L's in his history. He'd be the first to admit that, I hope. But right now he is leading a Target boycott after Target got rid of their DEI stuff. And so that has gotten him, he's calling it a new civil rights movement. That's gotten him looks on. He was just on the Breakfast Club like a couple of weeks ago.
okay.
I don't know. I don't know the veracity of how much Target's been affected explicitly by the boycott. But what it is doing, what has me interested, is it's a mobilized like grassroots movement, at least as far as I can tell. Like this was a Tuesday night at a church that wasn't even his. And like I'm of the same mind of you, which is the Democrats, the American left historically, the seat of power has been black people, right? It's the people who are closest to the problem that are more interested in solving it. So there's like a value in getting, if like even just the black church with all its warts and problems, the black church was the civil rights movement like home for a reason.
Yeah.
And so like there is definitely a value in like getting black folks are not beholden to the Democratic Party. They're not beholden to, classical liberalism. The black folks have constantly, even in the socially conservative, even with social conservatism being more popular among black people, all polling about actual socialist policies has been more popular with black people than any other group in the country. So all it would take is the right messaging and the proper responses to get people moving. The problem is it's multiple problems. One problem is the liberal black excellence, black capitalist wing of this same coalition is so like these same aunties, right? Their granddaughters do not fuck with them. And there is an overt, like when Kamala lost, TikTok blew up in so many ways between black liberals who were like, we're going to go to Starbucks now, and black leftists who were like, you all are spineless and full of shit and we'll never forgive you for this.
Yeah.
And like there's there's mending that will happen, especially around, in black community. But you're not wrong in saying that if this happens, like if someone comes to them with the right messaging and, gets there first and gets there with the appropriate, what's the word I want to use here? Come there with appropriate messaging, but also like, here's the deal, right? This is our actual plan. This is what we are going to offer you that we can assure to deliver on versus do you want Trump to be president again? You know what I'm saying? Or do you want insert whoever runs then to be president?
I mean, if they see success with this mobilization, and then they
He's starting a nationwide tour.
yeah, and then they move on to more tangible targets or actual political mobilization instead of like a consumer boycott
Right.
against DEI initiatives, which
Right.
I think is like, it was aesthetic to begin with. Like these companies are pro DEI.
Trust me, you don't have to. That's one of the reasons why I want to meet with Jamal Bryant. And so the event I went to actually had Nina Turner there.
Mm-hmm.
And so Nina Turner is bringing up workers' rights and like things that are like, okay, like I was there like halfway, like, all right, there's people here. There's mobilized Black people. And I love, shout out to, Black Man Bill, shout out to All African People's Party, these different folks I've associated with in the last couple of years as I'm trying to like, one, update my political understanding, and two, like be somewhat more involved than I had been in years past. But there were 1,000 people there on a Tuesday night. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And with 2 days notice. And that's nothing to like poo-poo, even if their politics are iffy at best.
No, I think that they're capturing, like, it's the same reason as to why 36,000 people show up to a Bernie rally.
Right.
Because like there's a lot of resentment towards this administration and people are looking for leaders.
Yes.
Like because this is the number one question I get from people is like, what do we do? What is to be done in this moment? And the reality of the matter is like, there's not a lot of people in positions of power that are directionally speaking to all of the issues that are happening. And I think even Bernie and AOC kind of fall short on this as well. Like, it's great that they're mobilizing people. It's great that they're getting people together.
Right.
And they're saying the right things.
But what do?
But they're not actually, exactly. They're not actually moving them into they're not moving them in the direction of political like policy agendas or mobilizing them and organizing them in a direction where they like actually stop some of the things or undermine some of the Trump agenda, right? This is why I keep saying like, it's great that AOC and Bernie are holding these rallies, but they should be also standing outside of the Jenna facility in Louisiana to demand the immediate return of Mahmoud Khalil, because that's like, that is, I think, where you can see a lot of results. And there's an analog here. There is a result that Chris Van Hollen achieved. He went down to El Salvador. I celebrated that decision. He put his direct body as a white man, as a American senator,
right?
And he went down to El Salvador and he was able to get proof of life for
his family.
For Kilmar Abrego Garcia, for his own
and that felt like somewhat of a turning point in that story in terms of like where people were sticking their flag on their opinions. I have to stand up. My ass is starting. How do you do this for hours at a day?
You can swap out to that chair. It's a little bit more comfortable.
Oh, shit.
Let's put you in a better chair.
I forgot she was ready for that, whatever. Yeah.
These are the mean streets of West Hollywood. This is not Atlanta.
I was on live. Actually, I'm stand up still for a second, just so I can stretch. I popped up on somebody's live, and the police did pull up to my house once. That was weird. Atlanta's still super over police, but now that I live around more white people, I see them less. So FD stretch rate. Continue.
Yeah, Unc is stretching. He needs to stretch a little bit. While you're doing that, I'm actually going to go back. Instead of this article, I'm going to go back to the Trump admin deporting U.S. citizens. And then I'm going to talk about this idea that I've had that we are seeing implemented right now by pure happenstance. It's through luck as well, but Let's continue with the story.
White House border czar was asked about this before President Trump took office, in which he said that there wouldn't be family separation. Rather, the families would be removed together. Now, I did also ask about the number of deportations so far under this administration. He said there were 139,000. Now, that is slightly less than the Biden administration at the same time last year, but the difference being that there are far less border crossings, therefore less easy repatriations. Rather, the administration still moving forward and moving forward quickly when it comes to deportations of those who are arrested in the interior of the United States. Wolf.
All right, Priscilla, thank you. Priscilla Alvarez reporting for us. Appreciate it.
Over the weekend, ICE announced that the agency arrested nearly 800 people over 4 days with the help of state law enforcement officials in Florida. They're describing it as a, quote, massive multi-agency immigration enforcement crackdown. Joining us now, Executive Director of the Florida Immigrant Coalition, Tessa Pettit. Thank you so much for joining us. First of all, what have you learned about these arrests that happened? Almost 1,000 people arrested over 4 days.
What we've learned from family members is that a lot of people who've been arrested are in limbo in our immigration system because the immigration system has a lot of flaws.
I'm not touching the MAGA hat.
Some folks have temporary status. And we've seen the data given by ICE.
Which one of these swords
that
is
maybe 300
the guy
out of
from
the
One
800
Piece
were actually
Hassan
had
dressed up as?
a final
My
order
son
of
loves that guy.
deportation.
I don't remember it.
So, which means that most likely
No, not the
two-thirds
mo-
of the folks who were arrested are people who are in some form of process and are certainly not criminals.
So you're saying about, most of the people that were arrested, because you said about 300 had actual deportation orders and, would be deported at some point in time, some of them going through the system. What can they do at this point? Once you're deported, it's over, correct?
Once people are deported, it's practically over. The system does provide legal avenues for folks if they can prove that they were wrongly deported.
So there was
to
something at the
return
beginning of the
into the
story.
United
They put
States.
numbers up. It was like March 2024, 100,000 encounters. March 2025, 11,000.
Yeah.
And I was trying to make sense of what that number was trying to get at. Are they saying there's less encounters at the border right now?
Yeah, part of that is I think because of the
Are people just not coming because they're afraid?
The deterrence measures do actually work. Part of that is because they've moved a lot of CBP to doing interior removals. But the other part of that is also, from what I understand, specifically because people do worry about state terror. They've also stopped the applications process, so people know that they can't even apply for asylum after crossing the border. So they're worried about being sent to a concentration camp. That is a real way to stop border crossings in general. So I think that's part of it for sure.
Gotcha.
So yeah, border apprehensions are significantly lower than they were at the in the Biden administration because people are just not coming in. That's what it is.
Do you have the random moments where somebody's comment? Oh, yeah, of course you do. Stun locked. That was your term. Wasn't that a term that was created by you?
Also, I think you still have your phone audio is on. Check your phone.
No.
Where am I hearing? I'm hearing music from somewhere.
I'm a bad this West Side. Shout out to West Side Gun.
Oh, you heard West Side Gun playing?
That Louvre song. Shout out to the company, man. I saw that this morning. My bad.
No, it's all good. Hassan hearing voices? No, I'm not hearing voices. I got.
Yes.
Yeah, we're not there
right
yet.
now.
That is at a time when there was due process in our immigration system. We're hoping that a lot of the people who were arrested are actually given due process before they are deported.
Is there any indication that there are U.S. citizens potentially that have been grabbed up in this group of people? Because we have now seen that there were children that were deported and that there was a man who was in the country legally that was accidentally deported, according to the administration itself, and there is a battle over that in court. What do you know about the sort of legal status of some of these individuals?
Right now, we don't have any information about the legal status of these individuals. We've seen how ICE have made multiple errors because they are rushing through a process that actually, if done properly, would not treat people in such an inhumane way. We hope that they're not only not undocumented, not US citizens in those that were picked up, but we also hope that everyone who was actually detained is given a chance to have access to a lawyer and to prove their right to be in this country.
It's like even as
I'm curious to get your take
Pause 1 second.
on hearing from the
Well,
president.
actually, I want to hear this part.
When it comes to accidentally sending someone,
this is
deporting
exactly what I
someone, or the fact that children who are U.S. citizens were deported, one of them having stage 4 cancer. His response to The Atlantic in an interview that he has just done and that has just been published was, well, sometimes mistakes are made. What is your response to that?
I am from Haiti. I can tell you one thing. Once you start making it okay for one life to not matter, it quickly becomes everybody's habit for every life to stop having any form of value. I would warn America not to fall into that trap of being inhumane or dividing people based on their country of origin to decide whether or not they are worth a fight.
Yeah, so
Thank you so much.
That was decent. Shout out to Haiti. I saw the flags in the chat. Because one of the things that's frustrating me, because I made a video early on after he won, basically saying, look, I'm not gonna make that many Trump videos. If I make a Trump video from here on out, it's because I need the coins, right? Because it's a slow month. And the reason for that is, and the reason for that, what sometimes frustrates me about this, but also I think people are frustrated by, is that they're still behaving civilly around this shit. And like, I understand the necessity. Well, no, at this point, I kind of don't understand the necessity of civility. You know what I'm saying? Like when you see Barack Obama sitting next to Trump and George W. Bush at somebody's funeral a month or two ago, and it was like a week after you were telling the country that these are fascist oligarchs trying to take over the world. Like, I saw there was a video today of a picture I saw today of like the black CNN anchor sister, I don't remember her name, and
Abby Phillips,
and then some like white, I'm assuming Fox News pundit. I didn't recognize him, but I could tell from the response in the caption.
I think you're referring to the clip that went viral a couple days ago, or even yesterday. I think is that from when the clip was, or from a while ago?
I can't. No, this happened. I just saw it today, so it may have happened yesterday.
Yeah, it's either Kevin O'Leary or Scott Jennings. Kevin, was he bald?
No, silver-haired white guy.
Oh, Scott Jennings. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. But it's like it's the veneer of civility that the people in this side of the media atmosphere still have, that I actually think is losing for them. It really goes back to your point earlier about yes, it was that right there. This picture right here. Dogs and cats living together, masses. Yeah, I didn't read that caption.
I hate Scott Jennings. And Abby Phillips, like, sometimes will cook Scott Jennings, but this is a byproduct. This is precisely why I hate the White House Correspondents' Dinner. When I was at the Young Turks, I attended because like TYT was doing events around it.
Right.
And I remember thinking like, this is the most evil place on the planet. Like there's just so much evil here. And I felt like it was DC for ugly people. I mean, DC's Hollywood for ugly people, because every single one of these people, like they fight with one another on camera, but like behind closed doors, they're grabbing beers. Like I remember it was in the first Trump term when I went to the White House Correspondents' Dinner, like events, right? And I remember going to an event and the entire room lit up when I think it was like Sean Spicer that walked into the room, and all these like liberal commentators were excited to get photos with him because he's famous. And it's like, what do you mean?
Like
this is a person, this is this is a bad person. Like, he's a liar for this bad administration, and you guys are all stoked to see him.
Have you seen the Boondocks skit where Ann Coulter and stand-in for Al Sharpton are like having a conversation behind the scenes? No,
I love Boondocks, but I don't remember that.
It was what was Al Sharpton's fake character name on the Boondocks? Somebody in the chat is gonna tell me. Rollo something. Ann Coulter. Just if you do Ann Coulter Boondocks, it's basically like the Boondocks hasn't aged as well as I think some people think.
You don't really? Why do you say that?
It's mostly around race politics. The Boondocks.
I don't care. I don't care. Is that old?
Now there she is.
Don't give me that baby listen shit, motherfucker. You think I'm stupid? I know you fucking that bitch, okay? I know you are. I mean, I don't play that shit. And don't play that shit. Rollo, hey, baby.
Hey.
Come here, give me some of that sugar,
This is that
daddy.
moment.
Back there, ain't you, girl? And how you doing, Abdul?
Damn, Abdul, can you let a bitch work? Shit, one of us has to. It ain't like yo ass is going to get a job.
And this is also
You know I had to bail this motherfucker.
This is also the race politics not aging well.
Wait, what do you mean? No, I disagree.
No. That's not nothing to do with you. Did not do with you. You didn't do anything. You can still good.
Ann Coulter, I think she used to date
a black guy. Yeah,
she used to date a black
Might have
guy,
been
but
married
like
to
it's
one.
a white supremacist. That's what they're.
Yeah, but it's also so that like stuff like that right here. This is what probably 2004.
Yeah.
Is when this comes out, and they're making fun of a thing that literally went viral yesterday, which is so bravo on that end. But also shout out to my boy John Lewis. John Lewis did a video about it like last month. In that the Boondocks is Aaron McGrew. So we'll circle back a little bit. We're talking about the aunties, right? We're talking about Obama.
Mm-hmm.
So like there's a whole era of Gen X black. So man, all right, let me start from the beginning. So back during slavery. No, I'm not gonna go that far back.
Okay.
So after the civil rights movement, the Warren Court era, there's a whole like, what's the word? Like a class, what's the word? Like a whole like group of people at once, not genre, cohort. There's a whole cohort of black folks that are right in position to take advantage of the sudden swinging open of opportunities in America during that Warren Court era, where they were highly talented, highly educated, highly motivated, etc. And they said, all right, they just took down, they gave us what we wanted. So we got to get in there. We're going to get the brass swing, America, whatever. And so that cohort are the parents of Gen Xers and old millennials, right? Those are like boomer era folks that shaped black culture for the last essentially 40 years, right? So like I was brought up, and this is a point I come to in a lot of videos. Du Bois has a speech about the talented 10th. And that Du Bois speech is one I heard in some form or fashion numerous times growing up, from a kid to even in college. The college I went to, Clark County University, was founded by Du Bois. So he's the founder. So they should know him through and through. And I will always hear this talented 10th story. The talented 10th story is basically saying, we need 10% of all the black people to go out there and achieve and do good, and essentially trickle down economics. We will get freedom and liberation. Now, what everybody always leaves out is that Du Bois rejected that later in life. He wrote an essay called The Guiding 100, because he said, you black bougie Negroes are losing your fucking minds, and you're not doing anything to actually address the problem. Yeah. You were race conscious, not class conscious, right? But the rhetoric is already stuck in. Shout out to Black Power Media, my mentor, Dr. Jared Ball. It was Nixon who said we need to replace black power with black business and black economics. Black entrepreneurship, I think, is the actual term he used. And that shit has worked. That has worked deeply on so many levels. And so that generation, that cohort of black folks who had access to liberal schools and, art and media, et cetera, they were also at the forefront of saying, well, hip hop is too violent. And, black people need to pull their pants up, respectability politics. Bill Cosby's Bill Cosby in the middle of and show you how insidious it is. When Bill Cosby was first getting investigated, when people were first starting to talk about accusations around him, he went on a speaking tour where he went to colleges and universities and started just saying the real problem with the black community is other black people. He sounded just like Candace Owens.
Yeah.
And so I say a lot to say, Magruder is a product of that generation. Magruder is a product of that ideology, and I always hold space because, in a lot of ways, he's not that bad. But if you know the language and you go back, like, trust me, you get some of the peers I've been helping the platform to go back and watch. Even if it's a scene like this is playing into a lot of not so nice stereotypes around the type of black man to be with an ant culture.
Yeah, I mean, Riley is like the perfect.
No, Riley was good. It's not Riley. Like, Riley is still Riley's still good because he crosses the line twice, but
I always thought he was a leftist. Like, I always assumed that he was.
You're talking about Huey.
No. I'm talking about Magruder.
No, Magruder is a leftist. He is a leftist, but like you know firsthand, leftists don't always have the best race politics. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but he's black.
But black people don't always have the best race politics.
For me, I always thought maybe it's because, like, again, I grew up in a country where there's no black people or very little number of black people. And for me, it was like, Boondocks was my way of like developing an understanding of black culture and black representation in America. And
it still is. So
it was definitely better
we're
than
talking
like
about
else.
We're talking about clothes. Oh yeah, way better than it was like I said, this is 2004, seeing into the future. But it does betray, this is not like this is close reading stuff. This is stuff you had to kind of catch on the back end. It's people like Magruder, folks like Killer Mike, right? So Killer Mike is, I believe, good overall, but Killer Mike also has you kind of get what I'm getting at.
I know what you're talking about. The first episode of his Netflix series literally was like, black capitalism is going to save us.
Exactly.
And it was like the antithesis to
kill your
solution. That and also the solution to the solution for black liberation doesn't come from black capitalism. It comes from socialism.
Right.
It's like the exact opposite take of Killer Mike.
Right. Exactly. And that's kind of the thing there. It's like going back to this auntie question, the divide, like the difference, the space between, I think, white liberals and like white leftists is much, much further apart than black liberals and black leftists, because all of us are coming out of the same like overall environments, but there's so many elements of class politics that are under-examined that, like, we can call y'all on y'all shit, but you can't. Like, if I came up here and did a black capitalism, remember when Noah Sampson went after, what's the girl's name? She was from British like shill grifter.
I don't know the exact details, but like she was like trying to be like
British Candace Owens, right?
Candace Owens, yeah.
So when he went after her, I pulled Noah aside. So you're not wrong, but no, don't do that, right? And he's known that from jump, like since then.
Yeah.
And so what that does though is it puts certain folks like a Magruder in a difficult, unique, and eventually sometimes dysfunctional position where they're speaking on black topics at a scale much bigger than any other black person with a voice can. Mm-hmm. And they have the opportunity to shape the way people see the world that will only see it through their vision. And if they're got some respectability politics they haven't worked out on their own, shit like this pops up. You know what I'm saying? So
I get a lot of I catch a lot of flack even for Candace Owens, like ripping into her.
Yeah, well, Candace, I think we've kind of we just let y'all ride on a lot of Candace's shit, especially now.
Yeah, no, I'm saying like in the beginning when she was popping off and she would do like a lot of like very obviously white supremacist rhetoric.
Yeah, white supremacist rhetoric out of a black mouth with the right aesthetics. You can get what are you familiar with Charleston White?
Yeah, of course.
Him and Charleston White and Candace Owens have the same politics. Charleston White might be a product of one of these right-wing think tanks. I'm not I know he has a explicit right wing background. I don't know.
He does collaborate quite a bit with Aiden Ross, so
Right. No,
that wouldn't surprise me.
He was like literally they got him out of jail. Like literally a Republican senator in Texas got him out of jail and he's been bought by them ever since. People don't know that about Charleston, but that's just the truth. You go look his background up. They started him out doing like anti-gang stuff.
Yeah.
And eventually promoted him to public anti-black talking head. But Charleston White has a huge black fan base.
Yeah.
You know, his he don't have any, like Candace Owens only is around white people, which is why like I'm more worried about Charleston White. You know what I'm saying? I'm more worried about Killer Mike. I'm more worried about Aaron Magruder, which is why, and it's because it's harder for you to kind of see.
Killer Mike and Charleston White are on entirely different like levels, though.
Killer
Mike is like presenting, coming from somewhat of a radical background, presenting like a liberal capitalist attitude for black emancipation, which is still wrong, but then Charleston White is like reactionary
nonsense.
The core.
Yeah. I'm thankful. I shouldn't even bring him up because he's finally kind of like lost his steam. I don't know. Maybe it's another post-Trump refractory period.
Yeah.
Is that a fair thing to call it? Back to the news. My bad.
But yeah, there's a lot. You're right about that. There are a lot.
Go watch.
There's also like aesthetic, like very niche movements as well. You have, I didn't even realize like ADOS is now duking it out with a new version. FBA.
They've been doing that. That happened almost at the very beginning of that shit.
Oh, I didn't realize.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's why my North Star is Dr. Umar, who is an infallible figure who has never had wrong opinions.
Did you not hear about the
anything.
drama with his 2 daughters that he sees?
No.
God.
No.
I got to do a calculation.
Okay, you're doing
of how much black business. Right.
You're
I'm
doing
like, how much black business am I gonna get into on Hasan's channel?
Crazy.
You're gonna have to go find a black channel to get that tea from, chat. But what I do want you to do is
there's also speaking of black tea channels.
I want to give shout out to John Lewis, his video on the Boondocks, but also Storyteller, who's British and a huge Boondocks fan.
Yeah.
Did kind of response to it that I think is a good connection in terms of critique of things that John Lewis may have missed.
Storyteller hates me. I still remember there was
I
one.
don't think Storyteller hates you, but I haven't talked
there
to
was
him
a point. There was a point a very long time ago where he was like calling me a grifter or something. I forget what it was, but I think that was. I still remember it because I was like, I love Boondocks, and he also
he started as a Boondocks creator. Yeah,
I forget what it was. It might have been during like React Gate or something. Anyway, I forget.
But also, everybody hates you though.
Yeah, that's true.
So
that
I should just
true.
assume.
Yeah, who doesn't hate you at this point? It was over your house. Oh yeah, he was. What was it? I think he was like, this guy's a fucking grifter because he has a house. It was like one of those things.
I'm gonna message him on the back end, see if he's softened.
Yeah.
But if he hasn't, that's fine too. I only know a handful of people whose opinions I respect that hate you as much as everybody else does.
Yeah,
and so like I think that's a good sign. A good sign.
Mention Christian Walker. What do you mean? Was it over Christian Walker? It could have been. I think it was.
What happened to him? Where is he at?
He's woke now. Not really, but like his resentment towards the Republican Party came to like this boiling point because of how much he hates his dad.
Yeah,
for good reasons,
obviously.
And then that turned into like almost hating his dad for the right reasons, and even hating on his dad for political reasons. You know?
What do we do with the anti? Because like I've seen, especially with black folks, there's a creator. I don't remember his name, but he popped up for me a couple of times, and he's a ex-anti-SJW black guy, which is already it's hard for me to look at you straight like as a normal person if you were a black anti-SJW person, but he was, and now he's a centrist liberal.
Who is this person?
I don't remember his name, but
he's British. You said
no, he's black. He's black. Somebody in the chat.
Be British and black.
Well.
He said,
no, he's American.
Nah, he's black.
Sorry, Storyteller. Sorry, the Storyteller.
Sean the Black says Rashad Crenshaw.
Rashad Crenshaw, yeah. I don't watch him a lot because he's not my type of content. Oh shit, is that the house? Is that the back of the house? because that's not the front of the house. I can tell
This
you
literally wasn't about you. I think it was literally during the Housegate saga. I don't know why he said that.
That's the one flaw is especially it's not react gate. It's just reacting. But go to Rashard Crenshaw, see if this is the guy I'm thinking of.
Is this the guy?
Yeah. That's him.
Who, I have no idea who this person is.
He just popped up. He popped up for me like, I don't know, this time last year.
This is what I usually do. When I find a new channel, I go, let's see what he said.
Hassan Piker.
Let's see what he said.
Endorses another terror.
Hassan Piker endorses another terror group. Twitch, the new home of terrorism. Hassan Piker trying to derail Kamala Harris. Hassan Piker defends Houthi terror attacks. Streamer calls for Destiny to be killed for calling Hassan Piker the N-word. Ethan Klein calls out Hassan's community for being insane. I had no idea who this person was until this very moment. You brought him up. I looked him up and I Googled my name and
you really are an industrial complex.
Instantly, because these are, I mean, look at his other videos versus this one. You know what I mean?
The one I saw was like his, like, you know, because another,
yeah, look,
like
his videos get 100 views or 5,000 views, but when he puts my name in the title and shits on me, he has like 20K.
How I Escaped the Alt-Right Pipeline video.
Mm-hmm.
That's the one I saw, and
it's
it wasn't.
It's like he didn't escape it. You know what I mean?
I mean, there was a lot of R slurs in the video.
Yeah, some of these guys will be like, "Oh, I escaped the alt-right pipeline, and now I'm in the alt-centrist pipeline." I guess, like, which is so funny though, because there's no home for this kind of politics. Like, there's no organic.
And that's kind of what I was getting at. What do we do with Christian walkers? What do we do with the Christian walkers? And give me, are there any other people? Is this even a thing, or am I making this up? Are there any anti-SJWs that have started a halfway left-wing pivot? You know?
No, nobody
does that. Nobody grifts to the left. There's
well,
no money.
I mean, I guess like
we're fucking broke.
Why would you grift to the left? The left is like fucking annoying first and foremost. Like they're hypercritical of everyone, including, like, look at the Storyteller saga. You know what I mean?
Right.
And
Red Scare.
And basically there's no, if your ambitions are to speak truth to power or whatever, like, you're not, or sorry, if your ambitions are to grift, if your ambitions are to make money and to generate income, steady income and revenue, you're not going to go after a leftist audience, because there is no robust leftist audience that's like, I'm a card-carrying socialist in the Western world with a little bit of like disposable income so I can fucking, spend money and consume shit. Like, it's not a real thing.
Yeah.
That's why they always point to me when they're like, who's the leftist grifter? Hassan. And
it's got to be Hassan. Well, so like.
Yeah, iDubbbz is a great example of how it doesn't work. Exactly. Look at iDubbbz. When he was saying the N-word, he was popping off. And then when he apologized for saying the N-word, everyone was like, you're a pussy. We hate you.
I find iDubbbz. So iDubbbz actually is exactly who I'm talking about. That's probably who I was thinking about and didn't realize it. Because he really went to his this guy.
Some black guy?
Oh, I remember him. He's brought me up a couple times, but I don't.
I don't know who this guy is.
He's some black. He's some black guy. That was the This is why I can't fuck with black anti-SJW people.
Wait, he seems positive. Look, he says Elon Musk gets beat the fuck out by Hasan and AC Shadows.
He's from the OG anti-SJW community though. Like
maybe he's made a pivot.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Him, who's the original? The OG is Amazing Atheist. So him, Amazing Atheist. And a couple of other. Spoon on Head. There's another example. Kind of.
Shoe on Head.
Whatever her name is.
I don't know either. I consumed like 30 total seconds of her content, I think.
I mean, she, I've paid attention a little bit because she's ostensibly making video essays. Yeah, some black guy was. I never watched any of these people for real. I've only heard about them through the deep lore of understanding the space. But I know a lot of them, they didn't start out as like when the anti-SJW said, okay, but now we're Nazis now. A few of them were like, I don't know. I think I just hate women.
Yeah.
and Muslims.
No, they're always looking for a new place there where there's like some semblance of like permissible bigotry.
Right.
That's what it is. And that's why some of them take the Islamophobic pivot, because like there's always, you can tap that well.
Right.
That runs deep, right? For I think ABBA and Preach, they went for the transphobia angle as well. They sometimes like manage their positions real well in terms of like they go after like the fresh and fits of the world, but then also at the same time they're like, you know, I'm gonna spend a lot of money on and a lot of investment, a lot of time commitment to like the 12 trans athletes that have ever partook in sports.
I'll give them credit, even though I don't fuck with ABBA at all because of his Destiny dick riding.
But he actually dropped them, right?
Well, now after he's in Sex Pest, he dropped them. Like he doesn't get credit for that in my book.
Yeah. Well, I think
Well, I guess it could be worse.
The depraved nature of online content, I will give credit to someone for being like, okay, you were doing revenge porn on like all of your partners that you called orbiters. Like that's fine. I think weirdly enough, like there's a shit ton of people who
there are
still
shit
support
ton. I am forgetting that.
It's freaky as fuck out here.
But
also, the food is here.
Dope. Fuck was I talking about? Oh, but ABBA and Preach, they did do, because after I called them out in one of my Manosphere videos, I noticed that a lot of those anti-trans videos were gone. And then it feels like they've slowed that down a bit since then, but I haven't paid as much attention to their content. I think they're just kind of doing general pop culture. Look at this weird person. Usually it's a woman. All right, this is the real.
So it's interesting because like I said, they managed that position. Like they didn't dive so far into the fucking like, because that pivot, if you go far right, you're gonna eventually start talking about Jews.
Yeah,
and that's precisely what happened with Fresh and Fit, Fed and Fat, where they started doing that.
I got invited. Shout out to Sissy for some responding to your email, because I got invited to the same thing. They got invited to Oxford to talk at some type of thing in Oxford. I got invited to, and I is it Oxford in England?
Yes,
I got invited to. I didn't know they were coming, but I denied it just because I didn't want to go back to England, because I had just I got an email from them like 2 days after getting back to the States, and I was like, I'm not getting on another 12-hour plane. Is this the thing?
Wait, where's the shish kebab?
Uber fuck us up.
Oh damn! Instead of shish kebab, they just gave you grilled chicken instead. No shish kebab.
That's fine.
So you have 2 plates of grilled chicken.
All right, this looks good.
It is good. You'll like it.
This smells good.
Yeah, I promise you, it's good.
This is not, and this is why this does not look or smell like white people food, Hasan, which is why you will always be a brown. Do we call Middle Eastern people brown too? Are you guys just with?
It depends. Like, I mean, you know my take on this. I say I'm white. I look white. I feel like me saying like I'm.
You
POC,
are very white.
I can't. Yeah, when I try to dance, you can really tell.
I mentioned West Side Gun earlier in the chat.
No, I know West Side Gun.
The chat was like, somebody said Hasan is so far from West Side Gun.
There's an aircraft carrier between. Yes. Yeah. That chatter doesn't know that I do fuck with West Side Gun.
All right, here we go.
Yeah, you like it?
Look
at
this.
This
is just Mediterranean food, though. So
look at this. Look at this freaky shit that I do, where I weigh my chicken to see if I'm getting the proper protein intake.
Yeah, see, that's where you lose me.
I do it because like I want to make sure that I'm getting enough protein. That's why I ordered 2 of these.
What is this exactly?
That is a very spicy pepper.
Oh no, I don't need that.
You don't fuck with spice?
I don't fuck with I fuck with spice. I don't fuck with spicy, because I get really bad heartburn.
Oh yeah,
and I just have the mouth of a child.
Give it to me. I'll eat it.
Okay, I'm gonna roll that back over to you then.
Yeah, just dump it in there.
I can't eat without watching TV. I'm an American. So what we got?
You can't eat while you're watching
without
TV.
watching TV.
Oh yeah, that's how I roll. This is my favorite thing.
I'm American. I'm a child of the 80s. So.
Yeah, I'll cover the Canadian elections as well. Please, Canadians, stop fucking chirping.
Yeah, let's go to Canada. My future home. This is what they're up to.
Yeah. Their situation's not great either. They got a fucking banker that's probably going to win the election in the best possible scenario.
That's the best possible scenario.
Yeah, that's the best possible scenario for Canada is a fucking banker. Great. Worst possible scenario is a Trump dick rider that wins with all the animosity against Trump, which would mean that like all these dudes actually do love the Trump wants to make America fucking Canada America initiative. All right, but
the results of our
we got Trump's lowest approval rating in any president in the past 80 years here. And this is something that I've been talking about that I've been trying to explain. But a big part of this, especially even on the immigration side, where Trump is finally reaching disapproval for the first time ever, like a net disapproval on immigration, which is supposed to be his strongest, his strongest aspect of his campaign. The reason why is because finally the Democrats have made a big fuss about it, and the media started covering it. And eventually, once the media started covering it, people were like, "Oh my God, I had no idea. This shit is depraved. This shit is fucked up." And that's precisely what I said would happen. And that's precisely what I was. Those aren't spicy.
Yeah, it's just a tomato.
Oh, you don't fuck with tomatoes. Okay.
Heartburn.
Tomatoes give you heartburn?
Yeah, red sauce gives you heartburn.
God damn.
Not yet, but give it some time. Keep sitting here in this chair.
I mean, yeah.
40 hours
I
a
hope
week.
not. Every single thing, he has fucked up basically every single goddamn thing. From immigration to foreign policy to trade to lowering costs of goods, all this stuff. And, some Democrats have at least like pushed the needle, pushed the conversation in an appropriate way. And therefore, media is covering it. And therefore, lo and behold, his approval ratings are going down on that front, too. And I'm glad that they've done that.
New poll on President Trump. As we approach the 100-day mark, he has the lowest approval rating of any president in the past 80 years. Chief White House correspondent Mary Bruce has the story. Good morning, Mary.
Good morning, George. Well, our new polling shows that the president is facing real challenges as he hits the 100-day mark with historically low standing for a president at this early point, even on the issues that helped propel him back here to the White House. This morning, as President Trump approaches his 100th day back in office, new warning signs about how Americans are viewing his work so far. Just 39% approving of how he's handling the job, according to our new ABC News Washington Post Ipsos poll. That's the lowest 100-day approval rating of any president in the past 80 years.
Fake polls.
On the economy, Trump promised to lower costs and boost growth, a message that was key to his victory.
I will instruct my cabinet that I expect results within the first 100 days or much sooner than that.
Now, 53% say the economy has gotten worse since Trump took office, with 72% saying it's very or somewhat likely his economic policies will cause a recession. Fears fueled by the president's trade war. The backlash now felt across the country at explosive town halls. Overnight in West Nyack, New York, Republican Congressman Mike Lawler getting an earful.
This was awesome.
And when you look at, for instance, Europe has price controls on U.S. prescription drugs.
Blah, blah, blah.
The president is eager to prove his trade policies are paying off, telling Time magazine he's already made 200 deals, despite there only being 195 countries in the world. Though he wouldn't say what they were or which countries are involved. Our Martha Raddatz pressing the Treasury Secretary.
Is there actually any deal at this point?
I believe that he is referring to sub-deals within the negotiations we're doing. And, Martha, if there are 180...
But those aren't actual deals.
Martha, if there are 180 countries, there are 18 important trading partners. Let's put China to the side because that's a special negotiation. There's 17 important trading partners, and we have a process in place over the next 90 days to negotiate with them.
Trump says he will not roll back his staggering 145% tariff on all Chinese products entering the U.S. without substantial concessions, though he claims the U.S. and China are talking. But Beijing says that's not the case, that the two countries are not currently negotiating over tariffs. And our polling shows Americans have concerns.
Are you China pilled like I am?
Low key. So here are my expat country lists. Number 1 is Canada, just because it's the easiest, most familiar.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Number 2 is Ghana, because black people, and they want us to come. But
Yeah.
I also know people that are there, have been there. They're like, it's cool, but it's still. And like not too far, coming up like fast all of a sudden is China. Shout out to IShowSpeed.
Yup.
For putting China on the map.
Remember I told you I like them.
Yeah, and I remember being like, but I made a video in support of him a little while ago too, because I realized what he was doing. There's still some problems there, but like I'm not gonna be Aaron Magruder. You feel me? Where people can come back and look at me being a little too hard on essentially kids, acting in ways that kids tend to act.
Yeah.
He could be much, much worse.
Oh yeah.
And I've seen that. So
no, the environment that he literally grew up in, he could have been a psychopath, dude. And he has a bunch of like really fucked up things that he did when he was like 16.
Mm-hmm. I've seen him.
But like considering where he's at now, it's amazing. He's incredible.
Yeah. And it's funny because like he literally in a different timeline got drafted this weekend in the NFL.
Oh
it's
yeah.
so absurd. He's like an elite world class athlete for
Oh
no
yeah.
reason.
Absolutely. He's insane, dude.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Concerns that extend far beyond the economy. When it comes to the courts and key rulings on cases like immigration, 65% say the administration is trying to avoid complying with federal court orders. 62% saying they don't think the president's administration respects the rule of law. Despite all this, Trump still has an edge over Democrats.
Chatters are asking what your criticisms of iShowSpeed are like in current iShowSpeed, and I assume his Unc doesn't like speed barking at babies, probably.
The barking actually doesn't bother me much. Speed still does this gag where people do racist things for him and he acts surprised. And that just annoys me.
That's yeah.
Like the first couple times
I
it
feel
was
like
funny.
he's gotten better at that too, though.
No, he did it like 10 times in China.
No, but I'm saying that like back in the day he would lean into it. In comparison to what he does now, where he's like, at least like.
Now you could interpret it. Now you could interpret it as him confronting it in some fashion or making it. Because like the thing that I often forget is that like 85% of white people don't realize racism is a thing still.
Yeah.
And so when he does that, it does in a sad way educate his population on how it is to be black and alive and not around black people in any given moment.
Yeah.
As you're going to be confronted with weird microaggressions. But, and that was kind of my point. It's a double-edged sword because we can get into the Shadur Sanders shit. Like, the ultimate goal is for black people to just be able to be normal, right? And have a normal bell curve of expectation and behavior. I don't want it to be where it's necessary for every black person to be on a rigid aesthetic moral code as to not hurt efforts for liberation, make us look bad, shit like that. Like I don't really want that. So I want it to be, because iShowSpeed is basically in my video I compared him to Tom Green, right? Mm-hmm. He's basically black Tom Green, right? Or young and blacker Eric Andre, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Tom Green's able to get away with it because he's white and Canadian. Eric Andre's able to get away with it because he's biracial and speaks, and presents a certain aesthetic that is less threatening. But IShowSpeed looks like he could play for. He probably has a Ohio State University scholarship still waiting on him if they're watching his stream.
Yeah.
So that makes it so anything he does is going to be amplified by the politics of race to be more negative. And so I know that as a 43-year-old who's read all the fucking books and worked in schools and did all this shit, I know that there's a harm to some of the behavior he does, regardless of his intent. But I refuse to be in the camp of Black elders who can only engage with young Black people around how they're harming the cause. You see what I'm saying? Who that's their only thing they say to young people. So like if I knew Speed in real life, they got me in the chat. So if I knew Speed in real life, I might pull him aside and be like, hey, here's a better way to do that gag that's a little less, regressive. But I don't know Speed. And so I'm not going to be one of the ones being like, we need to get, because it's the same, it's Bill Cosby shit all over again. We need to get the IShowSpeeds of the world and making us look bad. Pull up your pants and cut your hair, young man. Like, I'm not going to be Steve Harvey. You know what I'm saying? And so yeah. So I fucks with Speed, especially for exposing me that China's kind of dope. We're going. I'm taking the family to Japan next year, but we're gonna figure out China too, because I know China's got its problems. I know China's just as racist as any other country, if not more. But it seems like the money goes far there.
Oh yeah.
And so I could come out with one video a year, and
there's a racialized concept. I hope you don't cringe at hearing this, called being a white monkey in China.
Oh Lord.
Have you ever heard of this before?
No, but I know they love the monkey terminology.
No, but this is specifically for white Westerners that go to China and they are hired to elevate the status of a company, and they have no real job. They just basically are there to say, like, look, this is a white Westerner that likes our product, or this is a white Westerner that's in our corporate board of executives.
It's DEI.
Yeah, no, yeah,
Like,
it's like
actual DEI.
Actually, like the way that
DEI actually works on some bullshit.
And basically, that's my dream. I want to be that for the Chinese government. I want to be the propaganda minister.
You will be a shill for China.
Oh yeah.
I you know what? I can't be mad at you too much. Seeing Chinese folks roast Americans on TikTok has been a joyful moment recently. The guy was like, the funniest one, he was like, okay, America, here are all, I probably shouldn't do the accent.
Don't do it.
He said, okay, Americans, here are all the things that I own in my home that are made in America. And he went like this.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Not
I
a
saw
single
that one.
fucking thing.
You know.
All right, so how many calories did I just eat according to your macros?
You
didn't eat
had
any
the
of the
rice.
rice.
You had the rice too, but it depends. If you eat both of the chickens, it's that's why I weigh mine. Like mine is 19 ounces, so it's gonna be 19 ounces of straight white chicken breast grilled. So.
I don't know what the fuck that is, Hasan.
I mean, I will look it up on my
okay.
app. I have an app for it.
Got you.
Counting calories afterwards.
Because I'm gonna save that for you, because I'm going out to eat later, and I don't want to OD on. Still very good. You see, so chat, like, no, in all seriousness, this was delicious, as you can see. Shout out to free advertisement for whoever the fuck this was.
Yeah. I don't leak it. I don't reveal my.
Yeah, right.
I don't reveal my places. I gatekeep.
No, I'm not mad at you.
Yeah, it is delicious though.
Democrats in Congress entrust to handle the nation's main problems. And this morning, the president is reflecting on the difference between his first and second term, telling The Atlantic, quote, the first time I had two things to do, run the country and survive. Now he says, quote, the second time I run the country and the world. George.
Okay, man.
Holy shit.
That's kind of funny. It's kind of funny because it's like he's basically admitting that now, without any sort of limitations, I'm so much worse than the last time.
Great, thanks. And the president will be sitting down with our Terry Moran for an exclusive interview as he marks his first 100 days in office. You can see it tomorrow night, 8, 7 Central, right here on ABC.
Nearly 100 days into President Trump's term, the latest CBS News poll shows he is steadily
Let me
losing.
pick your brain on like the worst case scenarios of this shit, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I won't put it past Trump to turn it around in terms of popularity, right?
What do you mean? Oh, you think he'll get popular again?
Yeah, it doesn't. Remember, we're talking about the American people. We're talking about he was president 4 years ago and it was fucking horrible and they still voted him back in. So it's quite possible that he can turn it around in the moment in the next 100 days after this. If he stops the war in Ukraine, if the economy does take a turn, because like there's so much of the economy, like he can.
It's going to take a turn, all right, just not in the direction that's positive for Trump.
But at some point in the future, right, China, he can just end the tariffs in China and set everything back to normal and things improve. And China could be like, we didn't do anything. He just stopped the tariffs. But he could still tell people, I made that happen. I made a deal.
Yeah.
And no one will call him on the fact that he fixed the problem that he caused and just set things back to
I mean,
neutral.
that's classic Trump. He does that all the time.
Right.
For sure.
So you can't put it past him that he gets his popularity back.
No, I think he. My suspicion is, first of all, we haven't seen the worst impacts of his exploding trade shit yet. Like, we haven't hit the trade dead zone yet. That's coming next month when the lag in supply finally becomes the reality in the form of empty shelves.
Mm-hmm.
Because it takes around 55 days minimum for goods from China to come into the United States. And we haven't reached like the actual shortage yet.
Right.
But trade has slowed down tremendously. That's going to have an impact on a major impact on the logistics in this country. Major sectors like trucking. The
Atlanta's the home of the truckers.
Yeah, stevedores and all the people that are like longshoremen that work the ports, they're cooked. There is going to be downscaling everywhere in the supply chains. Then the grocery stores. Then all of these layoffs, some of which are happening already, like Subaru, I think.
No, go ahead.
Factories are going to start pulling out because they're like, well, parts are too costly for us to manufacture in the United States of America anyway, so we're just not going to do that anymore. And that basically is going to create an environment of instability when people start really recognizing the downturn. Because right now the markets are acting as though there's nothing wrong. Like,
right.
I mean, yeah, there's a little bit of instability, but like the severe collapse that is still coming, they are simply not looking at all. And it's like kind of shocking to me that like even retail traders even institutional traders are not factoring this in.
And so with that in mind, right, with that in mind, as things get really bad, people get more desperate.
Yeah.
And shit gets realer.
Yeah.
And so the conspiracy theorist to me is like, is this on purpose to kind of put the country in a desperate position? To allow him to claim more powers from the Supreme Court, which has already pre-granted him the power to do whatever the fuck he wants. Like, so we do get Trump 2020 infinity.
Yeah.
2028 to infinity.
I think he's too stupid to implement like a thing like that. I feel like they're too dumb. I think what you see is what you get in many instances where like Trump literally is just
doesn't know how.
He's been obsessive with trade deficits in perpetuity, and he unironically is too dumb to recognize how to redesign global trade after multiple decades of America moving manufacturing, offshoring manufacturing, and becoming the global reserve currency post Bretton Woods to get cheap goods and become the global reserve currency as a consequence of that.
Right.
Like that scheme was designed by the United States of America.
Right.
I think he genuinely wants to change that because he has a real national security concern with respect to China shutting off the manufacturing faucet And that's an understandable national security concern to have if you are desperately trying to gear for war against China. Because as the Chinese government did, you can just say, okay, well, there are some key resources that I will no longer send to the United States of America. And they have a damn near monopoly on the procurement of these natural resources, rare earth minerals that are necessary for defense, that are necessary for virtually everything, right? And more importantly than the procurement, which you can, go to Congo and cut a side deal if you want to,
right?
But you can't build a refinement processor, like a refinement facility, in the short time necessary for all of these like goods that come into the United States of America. And China currently maintains a monopoly on the refinement.
Right. Yeah. People in between my glazing of China, let's not forget that Elon ain't got nothing on. Elon's dad, I should say, doesn't have anything on insert whichever Chinese mega corporation is pulling all the cobalt out of the Congo. The Congo would be, if Wakanda was a real place, it'd be in the Congo. That's how valuable their land is.
And for the record, Chinese ownership over these natural resources have not necessarily been bountiful for the people of Congo either.
Not at all.
It's just that they are a far better ally to many African nations than the West has been historically, because they didn't do chattel slavery. And also,
it's not built into their social fabric of the way they see themselves.
They didn't do chattel slavery, and they offer significantly better loans as opposed to the World Bank and IMF. So these guys are like, yeah, fuck yeah. And they don't even try to do destabilization as long as we play ball.
The destabilization happens anyway, though, because of the nature of enduring cultural aspects that they're enduring cultural conflicts that they create that they're indifferent to. But we're getting off topic because I got to get out of here so I can take a nap before I go meet with some folks. So the irony is, so what you're saying kind of confirms to me in my head is he's low key accidentally destroying Western hegemony. American hegemony may not survive his presidency. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think he's accelerating America's demise. I think it's an inevitability because of supercharged capitalism. But I think Donald Trump is accelerating the inevitability, accelerating the demise of the United States.
Yeah.
Because of how he's gone about trying to offer a lifeline to the continuation of U.S. empire. What he's trying to do is, in theory, what he's trying to do is actually smart. It's just in practice, there's no way of doing it with a capitalist framework.
Right.
If you wanted to defeat China and become a manufacturing hub, you would unironically have to have a command economy like China. But that would require a complete reversal of what America stands for on the global stage as the defender of capitalism.
Right.
So they're not going to do that. And even if they were to magically overnight turn into China, there's still a tremendous amount of factory building and a robust infrastructure that you have to build, like a manufacturing base that you have to build, and training that you have to do for the American labor force.
Right.
And that would take at least a decade to fulfill. And Trump is not going to do any of that, clearly. He just wants to get promises from wealthy friends of his, wealthy benefactors of his. And then that's good enough for him to be like, oh, I'm getting $7 trillion of investment, which is a fucking lie. So yeah, that's the major issue. I think that we're heading down a really scary path. And I don't think it's because Donald Trump thinks oh, I'll use this economic instability to my advantage to do.
So it's not even
martial law.
We're giving him too much credit in terms of him trying to be a dictator, which I don't think way back when I was he's probably not going to run again because I don't think he actually likes having a job per se, but I also, obviously I was wrong about so many things, but I do still think there's a kernel of truth in the fact that his goal isn't so much the power of the presidency and of being the God King that the Christian nationalists want, right?
Yeah, I mean,
but
he's narcissist. He's going along with, he likes the power for sure. It's not that he likes being president, but he likes the idea of being dictator for sure. But I don't think he has enough foresight to set acts in motion to
Right.
achieve that.
He's not Machiavellian enough.
Yeah.
But he is still Donald Trump. I'm about to hit my Uber. Chat,
Okay.
before I hit this Uber.
Don't show your don't show your phone to the camera. Make sure. Yeah. I don't know if I did. No, it's all good. Don't worry. It didn't, but I'm just warning
Chat,
you.
before I roll, follow me on Twitch. I'm on Twitch now. I don't stream as much. So do that. Shout out to
good sell.
Yeah. The Twitch thing is like I'm just trying to create a more robust multiple streams of content to farm myself a little bit more. Because I want to be able to take longer breaks in between videos. But financially, unless I get a Kendrick Lamar Drake beef video every 3 months, that's just not realistic. So I'm trying to okay, how do I prop up the money where I need it to be without having to put in the effort for an hour or 90-minute long video every 2 months. I'm trying to get into my shout out to Dan Olson, Folding Ideas, to get into that type of every 3 to 4 months type of gap, because it allows you to do so much more stuff. I'm a Patreon's fine. Everything's fine. Everything's fine. I'm not doing good. Yeah, please join the Patreon and all that shit too. But Patreon is everybody's Patreon has a natural stopping point. And I've hit mine. So I'm okay, what else do I do?
Hell yeah.
Yeah. Anything I need to address, chat? Any stuff coming out? Shout out to iPatch Wolf, I guess. Yeah, I see that in the chat. Shout out to Nebula. Is Encore? No, I'm a wealthy, famous YouTuber. My house isn't as big as Hasan's, but it's close. But I don't live in California, so it was much more cheaper.
I thought you said your house is bigger than mine.
It's maybe yours is, I don't know, maybe it's because it's not unfamiliar, or maybe yours is more open. This is definitely a guy's house, whereas I wanted to make sure there was a place where I knew the kids would be.
I have a question for you.
Yes.
Black culture question.
Oh, okay, you get one.
Do you know the Crash Dummies podcast?
No.
You might have seen their TikToks.
Possibly. And the really funny guy, one is kind of brawlic, one's kind of
They're both pretty brawlic, but yeah, they're hilarious. They're
I've seen them before.
Mike and Pat.
Yeah, I think I know.
Good friends of mine. And Mike was telling me that black people never go past a certain point in a house unless they're directly invited. That's what he said. Because he was like, I've never seen your backyard, and I was like, bro, you've been here so many times. And he's like,
I've been here twice. Where have I been?
You've only been here in the bathroom. So I'm asking you, is that a real thing?
Yes, that's a real thing. That's a real. It's. Listen, it's a whole different. We'll get the sinners some other time.
Which is that was the other thing I wanted to bring up before you leave. The one of the funniest aspects of Sinners, one of the best aspects of Sinners was the classic trope in horror is that the black guy dies first, right?
Mm-hmm.
But in real life, I feel especially in black culture, it's because of the skepticism that you have at all times.
Skepticism. The only thing we don't have enough of maybe is guns, and because guns are expensive. But the skepticism, the communal aspect of certain environments and neighborhoods, the quickness that black folks will hate each other's guts, and as soon as a unifying force comes, instantaneously.
But that's what I loved about the
Sinners.
the cornbread moment where he comes back and they're in a normal trope, in a normal horror movie situation.
You see the white girl got back in easily.
Yeah.
And the white girl going, there's so much, the Sinners video, I don't know when it'll happen. I'm people here. Or maybe not. I haven't even confirmed my fucking pickup.
Yeah. Well, there you go. Now you got to talk about
Sinners. So the Sinners video, I don't know what'll happen because I got a Beyonce video coming out. I got a Lupe Fiasco video coming out. And then I got to figure out when I'm trying to drop Tyler Perry at the end of the year. So I don't want to do more than 3 videos for the rest of this year if I can stand it, but we'll see. But so I don't know when I'll get to Sinners, but there's so much stuff there.
Yeah.
It's not like Black Panther, where there was a whole Pan-Africanist message, a flawed Pan-Africanist message that everybody missed. So I don't think it'll be that. But just like the white girl being the way that they fell, right? Is, you know, I gotta look more into Kugler and like where that came from.
Yeah.
That is historically a thing, right? Where we see like the white women as a endpoint for black men when they because white women have always represented to some black men like I've made it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? When you to quote fallen great thinker in black art, and when we get on and you ask for a white girl, right? So, but the flip side is white people as allies have always used their privilege as access to other institutions to get power. So in that scene, she's like, let me go out there, talk to the white folks, see if they got any money, because I know we need money, right?
Yeah.
But it ends up being reverse engineered. Kugler is the main character, like the main character. What was his name with the guitar?
I forget his name. But yeah, the priest's son.
The priest's son, that's Ryan Coogler.
Okay.
That's his author insert character. And the blues is his
Sammy.
It's Sammy, thank you. The blues is his art, is his storytelling. I don't know if you know Kugler's story. Kugler was at, I think, a small college on a football scholarship and was going into business and then randomly entered a writing class. And a teacher was like, this is some of the most amazing writing I've ever seen. You should really like do something with this. And the next thing you know, he's in film school. But Kugler is probably a little too real for Hollywood. He's doing the opposite of Shedeur Sanders right now, which is like, I know these white people don't really want me here, so I'm going to play this game very masterfully. The end of Sinners is a message to Disney. Because how many white people have how many white people have Wakandans killed in 2 Black Panther movies?
I don't know.
None. Not a single one. They saw all this colonizer talk.
Yeah.
But they're running around with the dude from the CIA.
That's what I thought was like lame about Black Panther.
Yeah, and so am I just not gonna get
it almost feels like he's breaching containment, like he's trying to hold himself back. But even in Wakanda, where he makes a villain figure that is otherwise somewhat cooler than the main character.
Yeah. Like he has to force Killmonger to behave in completely absurd ways in order to make him a villain.
Yeah. He did that with Killmonger, and I would say like even with
Namor. Namor.
Well, I was gonna say even with the Smoke. Out of Smoke and Stack, like him coming back and like surviving almost leaves you with the question like, was it better overall?
To just do the vampire shit?
Yeah, to become a vampire.
I had the same debate with some black folks last night or the other
is
night.
It better to be, because that's like a really interesting question.
But the vampires also represent like the perversion of black art, right? But making the vampire the main guy, Irish and also formerly colonized person, it complicates it. And I don't know why I'm gonna land on that
because he was like, because I feel like he used that as an alternative. He used that as an opportunity to like gain access.
Yeah. It's
like make a convincing message.
It'll be interesting. I'm waiting to hear other people's takes too, so I can help refine my own. Because I'm not sure where to land with that. Because I thought I understood it until that very end scene. But my people out here.
All right.
Peace and blessings, chat. Till next time. All right. Seriously, take care.
Kaya, please. Come on, baby. Okay. All right. Get in there. Get over there. Yeah. All you do is hit the blue button. The blue button will unlock the door. No, that one. Just you see that blue button? You gotta hit that. And then pull it. Yeah. Perfect. All right. Bye. Kaya. Girl. He left mid-sentence? Yeah, because he called it Uber, chat. That's why he had to leave mid-sentence. All right, anyway, we're gonna move on. We're gonna get back to regular news coverage now. Okay, everybody can freaking calm down. That was FD Signifier. Shouts out to Unk. Great guest. But yeah, we're now moving back into